If you've ever found the perfect exhaust note for the whip, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, although we might have to change the name to the War Playbook because of everything that's going on right now. Welcome back. I hope that you all had a wonderful weekend. We are starting off another week with huge news, of course, as the U.S. and Israel strike Iran, and that has sent the markets into a tizzy. Energy, defense gapping up, oil gapping up, tech continuing its gap down. What's next? That's our job to figure out, and we will go ahead and do that. Got a bunch of news for you here today. Got a bunch of charts for you here today. We're going to break it all down and make some sense of it for you. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Monday edition for March 2nd, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. I hope that you all had a wonderful weekend. We are back for another week of market action, and it looks like it is starting off with a bang. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here. Mary is first. Good evening from Guam, as our international audience continues to outdo themselves. Welcome, Mary from Guam. I hope that you are doing well out there. Americans Day begins. Manila last week, Guam this week. I hope I can stay awake. You're out here at 10:30 on a Tuesday joining our show. That's dedication and commitment. A hearty pat on the back. Celebrate and be safe with all of that. Solitary Soldier, good morning. Welcome back. Francis, good morning. Welcome back. Crispy Biscuit, good morning. Welcome back. Brian, good morning. Welcome back. Peter, good morning. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Big Dave, good morning. Metals, that was the other thing I left out of my intro, Big Dave. Good call. Silver's higher, metals higher on that conflict too. You're absolutely right. Welcome back, Big Dave. Buffalo by Bicycle, good morning, saying that Palantir is strong. Any defense name is strong. Speaking of those defense ETFs, those calls that I took for State of the Union, well, we didn't get a whole lot out of State of the Union, but we got it out of this conflict. Those are gapping up here again as well. Jim, good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome back. The open will be interesting today. I would stress patience. I actually wouldn't rule out a green close here today. Just saying. I don't know what's going to happen, but let's see how that opening print ends up going here today. I think this is definitely one where you might want to wait that out. Wait for some of those jitters and that shakiness to get out of there. Yes, that girl. Good morning. Welcome back. Producer locked in, ready for another week of awesomeness. Thank you, producer, for bringing it every day. Ryan, good morning. Welcome back. Underdog play for the win. PSKY took down Netflix in the Warner Brothers deal. So let me know, now that it looks like we know the resolution of that deal, Ryan, are you more interested in any of the stocks involved? Probably not Warner Brothers Discovery, but do you like trading PSKY or Netflix? Let us know what the trade direction, what you have going off of that news. Free Diddy tomorrow says first. No, as a matter of fact, you weren't. But we're glad that you're here. You can be first in your heart, though. That's all good. Get ready. We're going to have another big day here. Sean, good morning. Welcome back. Bernhard, good morning. Welcome back. Kelly, good morning. Welcome back. Day Trader, good morning. Welcome back. Kayla, good morning. Welcome back. Joseph, good morning. Big Tom, pray for the world. The world needs it. Indeed, Tom. Indeed. Wiss, it's good to see you again. Welcome back. Marionette, good morning. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Durkus, good morning. Welcome back. Ed, good morning. Welcome back. Cam, it's good to see you again. Lion with the doom and gloom. Good morning, Lion. It's good to see you. Corey, good morning. So fine. Good morning. Lambo Rolls, good morning. Green Golem, good morning. Villanova says Apple stock will fall 9% by the end of the week. Tell us why. That is a very, very specific prediction. I do enjoy specific predictions, but give us the why to that. Why is that going to happen? GB Slice, good morning. Welcome back. eVTOL Trader, good morning. Welcome back. Be Humble, greetings. I love your handle, Be Humble. I absolutely love that. Try to practice that every day. Good morning and welcome. I hope that your weekend was all right. MSR, good morning, welcome back. JJ, good morning, welcome back. Jane, it's good to see you as well. Antonio, sending love from Sacramento. Yo, Antonio, just like I say about all of our West Coast traders, if you're up at this hour, you're ready to go. Early bird gets the worm. We'll send the love right back to you and that Sacramento area. Thanks for joining us. Hope you are well. Robot to Trade, good morning. Kelly, good morning. Pot G, good morning from Belgium. I am probably pronouncing your name wrong, and I'm sorry about that. I will try and do better, but good morning indeed. Best Life, good morning. It's good to see you as always. Matthew, likewise, good morning. Brandy, good morning. Billy, good morning. Billy, first of all, I appreciate you from last week. I appreciate you every day, but last week, trying to figure out if you were a bot, and indeed, he wasn't. I love the energy, though. I'm trading. That's why I don't make time. I love it. I love it, Billy. We appreciate everything that you do here. Good morning. I hope that you had a great weekend. Kenneth, good morning. Welcome back. Suprick, good morning. Welcome back. Big Bees, good morning. Welcome back. Richard, good morning. Welcome back. Team Mensgate, good morning. Welcome back. Lost Penny, it's good to see you. Sobre, good morning. Okay, I'm just going to stop there. Nomad, good morning. Top of the morning to you, Tiny. I think you meant tuna, but Tina, I guess. It is what it is. Yep, here's the correction. Tina. That's a nickname I've never had before, but it does make me laugh. Ryan here saying P-Sky was already in, but it's a long-term hold. That with the UFC contract makes it more appealing. Interesting. C Boogie, good morning. Welcome back. Marty, good morning. Christian, good morning. Kelly, good morning. Sal, good morning. All right, folks, let's go again. Yeah, that's we call that a fumble in football. Let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, futures lower ahead of the open on Monday here with the conflict breaking out in the Middle East. S&P futures down 1.10%, Dow futures down 1.07%, and the NASDAQ leading the way lower at minus 1.46%. Let's go ahead and take a look at some cues from last session here. Consumer staples, healthcare, and energy stocks were the S&P 500's gainers on Friday, when information technology and financials finished lower. U.S. stock futures fell sharply on Monday following Friday's losses. Futures of the major benchmark indices were negative amid the ongoing Iran-U.S. conflict. Over the weekend, the 86-year-old Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed in the strikes carried out by Israel and the U.S. Meanwhile, President Trump suggested that the current U.S. and Israel's military strikes against Iran, also called Operation Epic Fury, could persist for 4 to 5 weeks if necessary. According to PreMarket, the chances of the indexes opening higher on March 2nd crashed to a mere 10% chance, a 40% drop from previous levels, as over 1.07 million in volume poured into the contract. We are definitely going to open in the red here. The only question I have left is, where do we close here today? Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 3.97%. It dipped under 4 for the first time in some time. The 2-year bond was at 3.42%. And the CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections are showing markets are still pricing in a 95% plus likelihood that the Federal Reserve leaves rates unchanged at the next meeting in March. Now, we have several stocks for you here today, and indeed, oil stocks, defense stocks, those are all going to be on the list, but we have some others here tied to some specific news. The first one is going to be AMTD Digital, and the ticker for this one is HKD. It surged 20% in the pre-market on Monday after it reported a year-over-year increase in full year 25 revenue results. Really quickly, it reported revenue up 565.7% year over year. It went from 20.4 million to 136.1 million. So that stock obviously surging here in the pre-market. We'll see if it holds. We've traded this one before. It's kind of all over the board, but that's what's going on here. The next stock on our list is going to be Aardvark Therapeutics, and the ticker on this one is AARD. This had a rough day. Plunged 53.56% after the company announced it voluntarily paused the phase 3 hunger elimination or reduction objective trial. So 50 plus percent haircut for ticker AARD. The next stock on our list is going to be Avalon Globocare. The ticker on this one is ALBT. It tumbled 22.82% as it announced the closing of up to a $9.75 million private placement priced at the market under NASDAQ rules. The next stock on our list is going to be Liebang International Corporation, and the ticker on this is LBGJ. It declined 24.85% after it announced a wholly owned subsidiary will acquire a 51% stake in food distributor Yufeng Yuan. The last stock on our list is going to be Mongo Database. So we finally get a name from the tech world. Mongo Database, the ticker is MDB, and it dropped 2.27% as analysts expect it to report earnings of $145 per share on revenue of $667.15 million. That happens after the closing bell today. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our SPY chart here. Let me go ahead and get it on the daily, and then let me fix my presets here so we can very easily move between these different time frames. Starting with the daily, let's zoom in here. Let's see if we finally have what we need to break the structure that we've been in here. As a reminder, as if you folks even need this, you probably don't. We've really been sideways since October. We were making an attempt to try and break the high end of this structure last week, and that looks like that's going to be in jeopardy, at least so far here today. So the market right now, the SPY here, currently sitting at 679.15, down 1%. This is just about where it was when we started the show here. We're beneath the 20, we're beneath the 50, but we are now also beneath the 100-day. So really, my question for the market here today is, what is the next leg going to be? What is the next direction going to be here? I could absolutely see us pulling down. We're basically right at this, right beneath the 100, excuse me. But we're not far at this point from the top end of this previous all-time high breakout area. We actually have two of those areas right next to each other. These have served as support as they were once resistance. So if we continue to trade down, I would look for this to really kind of get caught by about that 672, 670 area. If we even get down there today, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually try some of these levels here to the upside. The first being the 100, but the 50-day moving average, that's going to be up there at 687. That might be out of reach here today. Stranger things have happened. Again, I really want to see how the opening print ends up going here. Now let's take a look at some insights from analysts here. Mohammed El-Arian's latest outlook paints a picture of a global economy facing a, quote, new stagflationary wind, end quote, driven by intensifying geopolitical shocks and stubborn domestic data. Analyzing the fallout from military escalations in the Middle East and hot PPI prints, El-Arian warns that the last mile of the inflation fight remains arduous, with the January core PPI jumping 0.8, well above the forecast. For the U.S. stock market, El-Arian anticipates a period defined by three structural themes: volatility, dispersion, and fragmentation. He notes that while the economy has been resilient, the supply chain double hit from rising insurance premiums and maritime rerouting will create logistical friction. This environment will likely widen the gap between market winners and losers as global trade continues to fracture. Crucially, El-Arian observes that energy costs rise and growth faces headwinds. Quote, the path for central banks becomes even trickier, end quote. With high-profile labor cuts and private credit anxiety surfacing, he suggests the market must brace for sharp and sudden news-driven price swings, as if we already haven't been braced for that, by the way, in an increasingly uncertain macroeconomic landscape. I would argue that with this conflict going on, if there is any type of resolution, this actually is going to serve as a buying opportunity and remove one of the uncertainties facing our market. Taking a look at some of the upcoming economic data on Monday, the final S&P U.S. manufacturing PMI for February will be released at 9:45. That'll be followed by February's ISM manufacturing data and auto sales figures at 10. On Tuesday, New York Fed President John Williams delivers remarks at 9:55. Kansas City Fed President Jeff Schmid will speak at 10:10. And Minneapolis Fed President Neil Kashkari will participate in an interview at 11:45. So we do have some Fed heads tomorrow. On Wednesday, we get February's ADP employment report. That'll be out in the morning at 8:15, and the final S&P U.S. Services PMI will be out by 9:45. February's ISM services data will be released by 10, and the Fed's Beige Book will be published at 2. On Thursday, we get initial jobless claims for the week ending February 28th. The fourth quarter U.S. productivity report and January's import price index data will all be released at 8:30 in the morning. Fed's Vice Chair of Supervision, Michelle Bowman, will speak at 1:15, followed by Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee at 7. On Friday, the February U.S. employment report, including the unemployment rate and hourly wages data, will be released at 8:30. And we're also going to have San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly speaking at 10:15 and Cleveland Fed President Beth Hammack delivering remarks at 1:30. Okay. Let's dive into the big news here. Updates on the conflict in the Middle East here. Here are some of the latest developments between the U.S., Israel, and Iran conflict. Israel's military said its Air Force carried out yet another broad strike in central Tehran targeting government-linked sites. Multiple explosions were reported across the capital. Iran's Tasnim news agency said the strike hit near Revolution Square, where a rally was underway, adding that air defense intercepted the attack over central Tehran. That was reported by Al Jazeera. Iran's ambassador to the UN nuclear watchdog, Reza Najafi, said that Natanz nuclear facility was hit during U.S. and Israeli military operations, calling it another attack on Iran's peaceful, safeguarded sites. That's according to Reuters. He confirmed the strike while speaking at a meeting of the International Atomic Energy Agency Board of Governors. The IAEA previously stated that there was no evidence suggesting Iran's nuclear facilities had been damaged or struck, according to Reuters. Oops. Israeli Army spokesperson Effie Defrin said Israel has mobilized about 100,000 reservists across multiple battalions, brigades, and divisions, adding that forces are prepared for both defensive and offensive operations, with all options being on the table for a Lebanon ground invasion. That was also reported by Al Jazeera. Saudi Aramco shut its 550,000 barrels per day Ras Tanura refinery after a drone strike amid regional attacks launched by Tehran, reported by Reuters. The Gulf Coast facility is one of the Middle East's largest refineries and a key Saudi export hub. Fire and thick black smoke were seen near the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait on Monday during a new wave of Iranian missile and drone attacks across the Gulf, prompting sirens and security alerts, according to the U.S. Department of State Consular Affairs. The department also urged people to not visit the embassy and stay indoors. And if you want to link to any of the our tweets or articles in here, they are in the story that I just threw there in the chat. Sirens heard in Jordan's Abaqua. I'm probably pronouncing these wrong. I apologize. Al Jazeera Arabic reports that sirens have been sounding continuously in the coastal city for several hours. The news outlet also reported strong explosions in the capital of Iraq's Kurdish region, with Iraqi air defenses intercepting missiles and drones targeting Erbil International Airport. Verified videos show thick black smoke in Kuwait's Al Jahara city, about 32 kilometers west of Kuwait City, after a fighter jet crashed. Unconfirmed reports indicate the aircraft may have been Boeing's F-15, reported by Al Jazeera. Separate reports from India TV suggested that the pilot safely ejected before the crash and was later seen near the Kuwait-Iraq border site, indicating the emergency evacuation system worked properly. In fact, I saw another update on those strikes here today. It looks like all of those pilots are okay. Verified footage shows a jet colliding with a drone over Deira in southwest Syria. though the countries operating the aircraft remain unclear. That was also reported by Al Jazeera Arabic. U.S. Commission President Ursula von der Leyen took to X on Monday to share an update that she spoke with Cyprus President Nikos Christodoulidis. My Greek is not all that great. Following the attack on the UK base in Akturi, stressing that while Cyprus was not the target, the EU stands firmly and collectively with its member states against any threat. Now, these strikes here have caused a lot of things to surge, most notably some of the defense stocks. Here's what we have for you on that. Defense stocks such as Kratos, ticker KTOS, that surged 10+%, while Lockheed Martin, ticker LMT, and RTX, ticker RTX, climbed 6.67 and 6.58 respectively. L3 Harris Technologies, ticker LHX, and Northrop Grumman, ticker NOC, climbed 5.61 and 5.2%, respectively, in Monday's pre-market trading session. Those are all holding on to their gains for the most part here. We'll see what the next move is. U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran and Tehran's subsequent retaliations have triggered a rally in defense stocks as investors anticipate a rise in defense spending due to the expected prolonged regional instability. Even if it does not last all that long, there's still going to be replenishment needed on a lot of these, and that should impact these stocks in a positive direction. Obviously, the longer it goes on, the more degrees of freedom we have there. You can make the argument that they're going to need to replenish more of their supplies, but if the conflict goes on longer than anticipated, that's going to be a negative for a lot of different markets, including maybe even some of these stocks. The conflict in the Middle East, which included the death of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, entered its third day. President Trump on Sunday indicated that the current U.S. military strikes against Iran could continue for 4 to 5 weeks. That's going to be the time frame to keep an eye on. I would imagine you're going to see more downside if this time frame looks to be extended. We'll see what we get over the coming weeks here. If necessary, and indicated there could be more casualties in days to come, which is never a good thing. Meanwhile, Iran's security chief Ali Larijani rejected talks with Washington and accused Trump of driving the region into chaos. LOL. Amid this, the global energy markets turned highly volatile on Monday as crude prices jumped to their highest levels since early of 2025. Following escalating military conflict, Goldman Sachs estimates that $18 per barrel risk premium, about 25% of current prices, amid growing fears of a prolonged Strait of Hormuz blockade. Now, while the Strait of Hormuz is not blocked off, there have been a number of ships that have turned around. One ship was struck there. That's going to have worries on that. But that also opens up another potential for us. And I know 13 had been looking into some of these, so we'll ask him when he jumps on. But maritime insurance stocks might also be another way to play this. We'll go ahead and get you that list when we can put that together a little bit later here. Now, we talked a little bit about defense. We should also talk about energy and crude. Global energy markets entered a period of extreme volatility on Monday, with crude futures surging to their highest level since 2025, as we reported. According to the Reuters report, Goldman Sachs analysts now estimate that a massive $18 per barrel risk premium exists, since the current future prices of Brent are 77.57 and WTI are 71.21. The $18 risk premium accounts for roughly 23 to 25% of total price above $90 per barrel. It anticipates the estimated impact of easing to a $4 premium if the Strait of Hormuz flows are cut by only 50% for a month. Again, the time frame of this conflict is really going to come into play here as we continue to move along. Meanwhile, Matthew Ryan, head of market strategy at Ebury, told Benzinga that, quote, an outright full closure of Iran's premier shipping lane is arguably the biggest risk for markets and could, we think, send oil futures surging towards the $100 a barrel mark, end quote. It is, I think that closure would actually probably hurt China the most. So again, I want to see how this all shakes out here. Wood Mackenzie also warns that if the disruption persists, Brent crude could easily breach the $100 mark, as roughly 13 million barrels per day remain inaccessible regardless of the OPEC plus spare capacity. Philip Nova notes that investors have pivoted sharply to a risk-off posture seeking refuge in gold. Lion, looking at you. You got to be pretty happy about the gold refuge here. That continues to trade higher as well. And the US dollar while dumping cyclical assets. However, experts at Societe Generale suggest that the current price behavior, though sharp, remains orderly. That's going to be key too. From a technical perspective, the rally faces stiff resistance. Matt Simpson, senior market analyst at Citi Index, compared the current weekly crude chart to a daily VIX chart, suggesting that such vertical spikes rarely stay elevated for long. Simpson warned traders to expect, quote, some choppy trade around these highs, end quote, noting that while the $18 premium is significant, the market has a history of rapidly retracing these fear-driven gaps once the initial shock subsides. So if anyone wants these tweets or the accompanying charts, I will go ahead and drop that here in the chat there for you. You can kind of go ahead or go through those as well. Okay. Oh, I'm sure we're going to have more to talk about on that, but I did want to get to this story as well. Tom Lee of Fundstrat Global Advisors acknowledged uncertainty around the AI trade, but remains optimistic that things could turn for the better in March. Prior to this whole conflict, this is something that we were looking at. We had Anne Marie talking about this. We actually had several of the T3 traders talking about this as well. We're in a traditionally poor seasonal time for the market here. Under normal circumstances, or generally based on seasonality, this normally resolves around mid-March, so perhaps 2 weeks from about where we're at now. Looks like Tom Lee is banging the same drum here. Sharing his insights on CNBC's closing bell on Saturday, Lee called the market angst against AI in February, quote, overly pessimistic, end quote, and said, I think investors are losing sight of the bigger picture, which is that when it comes to the global implications of AI, end quote. He suggested that the U.S. and potentially China could be the main creators and beneficiaries of AI, indicating that the S&P 500 could benefit. The analyst also discussed NVIDIA's week, which was disappointing despite a strong earnings report. He expressed disappointment at the stock's performance, but predicted a consolidation and re-rating period for the company's price. NVIDIA's stock has declined 7.41% over the past 5 days. I guess you could argue that that's due for a bounce. On the topic of credit and widening spreads, Lee acknowledged that private credit has been a problem for some time. He suggested that the Federal Reserve needs to reconsider its interest rate policy in light of these tech issues. Despite the market nervousness, Lee remains optimistic about the future, and I would be on the same page as him. He believes that March will be a, quote, turnaround month, end quote, for the market, and that the economy is not slowing down. He suggested that any growth scare is more about risk premium than actual economic concerns. Earlier this year, Lee forecasted a significant rise in the S&P 500, projecting the index reach 7,700 by the end of 2026, with a possible 15 to 20% correction in the latter half of the year. Now, that differs from me because just being selfish, I would say, I would rather that correction come as close to the beginning of the year rather than the end of the year. We'll see if his prediction ends up being correct. Nonetheless, any 15 to 20% correction, I believe, is going to be a buying opportunity. Personally, I guess I reserve the right to change my opinion when that comes, but I've been waiting for kind of a reset in some of these asset prices for some time. He also defended high equity prices and suggested that the market deserves to be re-rate higher, pushing back against warnings that this is the most expensive market ever. Now, I don't think I totally agree with him there. What I would rather have from a trader's perspective is I would rather have some of these stocks that are that maybe, in his words, need to be re-rated higher. I'd actually rather have them be cheaper. Give us this correction. Give us this move down where these quality companies that we know are not just going away anytime soon actually have more reasonable valuations. To me, then maybe we can have this discussion of being re-rate higher. But I would almost rather have the stocks themselves probe some of these lower levels and get some of the value investors at least more interested. Maybe they won't buy, but at least more interested. I don't think going straight up forever is a good idea. Those that have more experience than me consistently remind me that if you continue to go straight up, straight up, straight up all of the time, eventually there will be one of those times where it comes down. The longer you go up, the worse it is when you inevitably move back down. So take that for what it's worth. While Leah's optimistic about the market turnaround in March, the recent strength of precious metals, particularly Lion's King Gold, which has outperformed the S&P index for 7 consecutive months, might be a signal of upcoming market changes. Skybridge Capital founder Anthony Scaramucci warned that markets face bigger risks from weakening capital flows, calling the pullback a, quote, capital boycott, end quote, as global investors reallocate funds. He cited what he described as Warren Buffett moving $400 billion out of the market as a warning sign, even though data showed sovereign wealth funds and public pensions have invested about $132 billion into the U.S. in 2025, roughly half of global allocations. Meanwhile, Dow futures fell 428 points, which is not even a percent on Sunday evening, while S&P and NASDAQ futures dropped more than 1% as markets reacted sharply to the high-intensity U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iranian military targets under Operation Epic Fury. So again, we'll see here, quick peek at the futures. They're actually trying to make a move higher here. S&P futures are down now just exactly at 1%. Dow futures also down 1%. And the NASDAQ futures down 1.24%. So all three of those numbers are better than when we first signed on here. So we'll see if we continue to move in the up direction here. Again, I know it sounds crazy. I would not take off the table that we close green here today. I'm just going to throw that out there before the market opens. Okay, taking a look here at Tesla. Actually, how's Tesla doing in the pre-market here? So we are still under 400. Tesla up off the pre-market lows. Pre-market lows of 388. Tesla currently sitting at 393.5. Here's a story regarding Tesla and the Cybertrucks. Elon Musk-led Tesla has hiked the price of the affordable all-wheel drive trim level of the Cybertruck by $10,000 after revealing the variant. So that affordable variant, $10,000 less affordable now. On Tesla's official website on Sunday, the automaker officially hiked the price of the dual-motor all-wheel drive trim from $69,990. Might as well just call that $70,000, but I understand the marketing ploy that they're using there. The EV giant had earlier launched the trim level at a price of $59,990 amid a decline in sales. The Cybertruck trim level also includes the premium all-wheel drive, priced at $79,990, and the Cyber Beast trim, priced at $100,000. The hike comes as Tesla had earlier shared that the $60,000 price would be applicable for a limited time only, and the trim level would see hiked prices post-February 28th. So they said that this was going to happen. It happened. I wonder how many people ended up taking a Cybertruck out of this. You guys will have to let me know. Did any of you buy a Cybertruck while the price was a little bit lower? The news comes as Tesla has seen strong demand for the trim level, with takers for the base dual motor variant emerging, according to data compiled by influencer Sawyer Merritt. He's actually a pretty good follow on Twitter, despite being called an influencer. However, investor Gary Black, who's the managing director of the Future Fund LLC, thinks that the trim level wouldn't translate into better sales for the automaker and would instead lead to cannibalization of the mid-spec Cybertruck. It doesn't matter what spec they are. They all look like dumpsters to me. Not a fan, personally. Meanwhile, EV pickup trucks are gaining ground in the U.S. at the same time, with the Jeff Bezos-backed company Slate Auto announcing that it will be revealing the price of its highly awaited $20,000 range EV pickup truck in June amid final negotiations with its suppliers. So it looks like we're going to get some more news on that later this year. Ford also reaffirmed its commitment to EVs, sharing that its universal EV platform will underpin the company's mid-sized EV pickup truck scheduled for a 2027 rollout. You know, I actually want to take a very quick peek at Tesla's chart here, see if there's anything on the daily chart now that we're under 400, and look at that. It appears that we would. It appears that this chart is at an important spot as we're doing our best to hold the 200-day moving average. Again, the pre-market move here did take us beneath this average So far, we've been able to recapture it. I would be really paying attention to the closing candle here from Tesla. As a reminder, this entire level has been important for some time. If we put our cursor pretty much right here, about 394 to 400, this goes all the way back to 2024. This has been a key level in the past, and it looks to be a key level again, and it's sitting right where the 200-day moving average is. So we'll see if Tesla can hold on to that. We'll see if Tesla can hold on for that. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit more about that Strait of Hormuz there, and we'll tie the prediction markets into this as well. The escalating tensions between the U.S. and Iran following the ballistic missile strikes by a joint U.S.-Israel operation in Tehran over the weekend have cast major doubts over Iran allowing crude oil shipments via the Strait of Hormuz, which is a key trading route. Here are what traders on PreMarket and Kalshi are betting on. Over 48% of the traders on the prediction market platform PreMarket on Sunday bet on Iran closing the strait by the end of this year, December 31st, 2026, while 43% of the traders think the closure could come sooner, by around June 30th. Over 33% of these bettors placed their bets on Iran closing the trade route by the end of March. On Kalshi, over 37% of bettors think the strait will be closed before 2027, while 35 and 29% of traders think that the closure could come sometime between August and May this year, respectively. Closures of the Strait of Hormuz can have a major impact on global oil prices as the cost of London Brent rose 5.76% to $77.06 a barrel, while crude U.S. oil prices also surged over 5.43% to $70.66 a barrel. Crude futures here holding pretty steady right now at $72.40 ahead of the open here today. Experts have warned that the closure of the strait could lead to oil prices surging exponentially, with analysts at ING predicting that any disruptions in the global oil supply chain can lead to prices topping $140 a barrel. Yikes. It's worth noting that the Palau-flagged oil tanker was struck near the Strait of Hormuz along with two other vessels, according to officials from Oman cited by Al Jazeera on Sunday. I think we already talked about all of this. Yes, we did. Okay, so next here is going to be, this also involves oil stocks, but it is regarding Berkshire here. Berkshire Hathaway's new CEO omits Bank of America and Chevron in its letters to shareholders. In the inaugural letter to shareholders, as CEO, Greg Abel, who took over for Warren Buffett, signaled a potential shift in Berkshire Hathaway's equity strategy by not mentioning two of the firm's largest holdings from its core investments. Abel's letter emphasized a, quote, concentrated approach, end quote, towards business Berkshire intends to hold for decades. While Apple, American Express, Coca-Cola, and Moody's were solidified as forever stocks, Bank of America and Chevron were notably absent from this designation, despite being top 5 holdings by market value per its fourth quarter 13F filing. Does that mean that these are going to see some selling in the near future, or perhaps already have? You'll have to let me know. You will have to let me know. This omission aligns with a 9% reduction in the Bank of America stake during the first quarter of 2025, while Chevron's position was increased by 7% in the same period. That Chevron increase doesn't look too bad here today. The transition to Abel's leadership also brought a blunt assessment of underperforming assets. Abel described the investment in Kraft Heinz, ticker KHC, as disappointing, noting that returns have been, quote, well short of adequate, end quote. Despite this, Berkshire has supported a pivot towards operational recovery rather than a previously discussed breakup of the food giant. As Berkshire moves past the Warren Buffett era, still crazy to read that out loud. Still feels weird. Anyway, as Berkshire moves past the Warren Buffett era, Abel is reinforcing a culture of, quote, stewardship and decentralized autonomy. While his compensation has jumped to a $25 million base salary, not bad, huh? Any of you in line for a $25 million base salary? Man. A sharp contrast to Buffett's long-standing $100,000, his focus remains on fortress-like financial strength with cash holdings now exceeding $370 billion. So let me know if you're following along with anything that, I guess, can we even still call it Uncle Warren anymore? If it's being led by Greg Abel, maybe we need to come up with a new nickname for Berkshire Hathaway. All right, folks, but let's see how much time. Actually, we're doing pretty good on time. We are going to have a ton of time for tickers here today, individual big names. And on top of that, I took a quick look at the movers tool before I jumped on here, and it sure seems like a lot of these movers are smaller oil names or just oil names in general that are moving with the conflict. So thematically, the movers list here today looks to be pretty lockstep there. So I would suspect that we will be able to take a look at more and more individual names as you folks want to. Before we do that, let's knock out two more things. Let's first start with our street tweet segment. And sorry, producer, I meant to cue that up myself. All right, our first tweet here comes from the Kobisi letter, and I understand it's a little bit stale as we're here on Monday morning, but the ending message here is a good one that I would like to reiterate. Oil prices officially dropped back below $70 a barrel, now just up 3.5% on the day. That was going to be yesterday after the futures opened. Oil markets have now erased a 70% off their opening move higher. This is not World War III. Ignore the noise. Now, oil prices, like I just mentioned here, crude futures up to 72.44, but it's this last sentence here. This is not World War III, and I think the best possible thing that you could do for your portfolio is avoid a lot of that noise. Furthermore, if you feel unsure about what to do here today, there's nothing wrong with not doing anything and letting this kind of settle here. If you have any of the themes that are trading up here today, like defense or like oil, taking gains and booking some of those gains to remove risk and take that off the table during a time of uncertainty also makes a lot of sense. Panicking makes absolutely no sense here. I think the Kobisi letter does a really good job hitting it here. All right, producer, let's go ahead and do our macro minute. Oh, I should find that, huh? All right, our macro minute here is going to be the Middle East conflict, obviously. Really, the questions that we have are, how long is this going to last? Is it going to last longer than what has been projected so far? What's next for oil stocks and defense stocks? And then on the back of that, what's next for tech stocks? Well, tech is selling off even more now. The reality is that the tech sell-off started before this conflict started, and tech has its own host of problems. So where do we go from here? Do oil stocks and defense stocks have yet another leg higher off of this initial impulse move? Do tech stocks have another leg lower? If so, when is it going to be applicable to buy these again? When does it make sense again? Conflict in the Middle East, our macro minute this week. Okay, let's get back to pro here. And you know what? Canarp, I just happened to catch your comment there, and now I see Jay right above it. I'm going to let you pick your own bone with 13. I'm not going to jump in the middle of that freight train. But I do think it's a good idea to take a look at AAOI, because any of you folks that have been trading this recently, in fact, we'll just go ahead and start with the register rings. I know I need to give out several of them. Those first two are for Jay and Kathy, who have been absolutely, I don't want to say murdering, absolutely smoking this trade here, as it's been a really good one. Canarp, perhaps you're on that too. And then another register ring for anyone else that may have traded this. AAOI, boy, no chill at the trend line here. And Kathy, I don't know if you're out there yet. I believe, if I recall correctly, you had asked last week, how do you come up with targets when the price is just breaking to new all-time highs? A lot of the times we look at previous price levels where the stock might have found some support or resistance or where it may have turned around. And I had suggested drawing maybe a fib-based trend extension here, so using the power of Fibonacci to discover if there are any resistance areas above where the price is where we haven't really explored yet. And indeed, it looks like the 2.618 level on that fib-based trend extension put our next area up here at 107.5. Stock on AAOI is at 113 here today, up 34% again. You can see this move here. I got to be honest with you, given what we were discussing here recently, to me, it sure seems like this type of move is exactly the type of move that you would, at minimum, want to trim this stock into. Blast off indeed. Blast off indeed. And what's next for this? Do we keep going? I mean, stock's up 34.58% here, now 35%. Just an absolutely monster move here again. Let me know, for those of you that are long, what's the plan? What's the exit plan here? Is it trim? Is it take gains? Is it just hodl? What's the plan here on AAOI after it's really just a great week last week, then just the icing on the cake here, up another 34.5 to 35% today. So not fib-based trend extension, but trend-based fib extension. Thank you. You're right. I like to place them using a daily line chart. So you actually prefer the lines to the candles then, huh, day trader? Interesting. Interesting. Let me know, do you have a target for AAOI? And I can't remember if you were long this one or not. You'll have to remind me. You will have to remind me. Unbelievable move here today. Again, for me, this would be a take gain spot, given what we're seeing here today. Okay. I don't use Wix. That would explain it. All right. What other stocks do you folks want to take a look at here today? Billy, I see that you're shouting out a bunch of these movers here. I would imagine all of these just kind of fit into what we were already talking about. This is UAVS. This is going to be one of those smaller drone players. This move to the upside, most notably retraced a lot of its impulse move. A lot of the drone stocks look like this. Ondas, same deal, although this is holding higher near that impulse move. We'll run through a couple more of these as well. RCAT, this actually at the highs. Tell you what, this pre-market RCAT chart sure looks like this wants to make a test of 13 here today. UMAC, this is another one that we've taken a look at before for the drone theme. This is Unusual Machines. This too looks like it wants to push higher here. So this, again, we were talking earlier about some of these movers kind of acting in a thematic way here today. Indeed, it does kind of feel that way. It feels like we're going to have a whole bunch to pick from. We don't know that there's necessarily anything individual on some of these smaller names. Let's see what else that you folks have here. C Boogie wants to take a look at Google. That's Google with an L, Googl. Let's do that. So I was asking not long ago about the tech trade. What would it take? I guess I would ask it this way. What would it take for tech to be more appealing for a long? Obviously, with uncertainty going on, with it being more risk off, I can understand not taking a new trade here on tech. But what would be required for a new trade here on the tech name? Google today really needs to hold this 100, right? We've kind of been holding the 100 since our move down from the recent all-time highs. We made that bottom there February 17th, it looks like. We've tried to kind of trade along in this range. This is actually very similar to what the broader market has been doing when we look at that on a regular basis. But today with Google down 2.6%, it sure looks like the 100-day and then also this round 300 number, likely to come into play here today as possible support. So that's what I'd be looking at here today, C Boogie. Can it hold this? I think if it does, this is probably going to be one of the better ones down the road. You know, we were also talking about some of these tech names maybe having a valuation that makes a little bit more sense. So I think as long as a continued pullback, in other words, if we break this 100-day and the 300 level on Google, as long as the pullback feels orderly, ultimately, I think that probably is a good thing long term, as Google's going to be a major AI player for some time. Perhaps we can look at another level lower. I would be cautious on immediately calling for the 200 day. If we break 300, it's another 50 points away. But frankly, I could see this really kind of getting some more support down in the 280 handle. Just kind of looking at this, it sure looks like maybe 275 to 292. I would think a little bit closer to 280, 285 is where this might find some support if we do in fact break that 100 day. The other thing on this is that if we break beneath the 100 day and recapture it, that could actually set up for a bullish move on this. Day Trader says, am I seeing an inverse head and shoulders there on Google? So I think, Day Trader, I think what you're saying is this. Correct me if I'm getting this wrong. This would be your left shoulder, head, and then right shoulder. Is that what you're seeing on the chart? Unless you meant like a weekly or something. Let me know if I got that right there. You know what, though? Now that even if I didn't get this right, looking at this as a hypothetical scenario, what we just talked about in terms of losing the 100 in a quick recapture, if we get that, that would also kind of play into this. You'd have two, I guess, bullish formations there. No, I should have typed head and shoulders. Okay. Well, that makes a big difference. That makes a big difference then. In that case, I think you'd probably be looking at, so you said the neckline at about 280. I think that neckline's a little too low there. And let's see if we can clean this up a little bit. Oops. So let's take a look at the weekly, and then let's draw maybe our left shoulder here, our head here, and you'd be looking for a potential right shoulder out here then. Let me know if this is a little bit more correct to what you were looking at. Probably tighten this up a little bit. This means a potential move into the 330 area here might fill out that right shoulder. Our next move, of course, would be down. I would say that 280s probably, target of 280. Okay, now I understand. Now, a lot of this makes a lot more sense. So I would agree with you. If we fill out this right shoulder here, I would say your target of 280 for target one is spot on. That would be right down here. I also think that if that head continued weakness, we've actually seen this out of some of these head and shoulders formations when they've really resolved lower. I actually would not write out, let's see, here's 280. I would not write out this 250, 260 area as another potential support if this does fill out. You know what, Day Trader? I'm going to leave this on the chart here. I'm going to leave both of these on the chart. We'll see which one we get. If any of them. Watch it just trade sideways and invalidate both of these formations and just double bird us the whole time. That'd be funny too. Okay. Good stuff there, though, on Google. C Boogie. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Josh, AGIG is up 40%. I got to be honest with you. I'm not familiar with that. What is this? Abundia Global Impact. So this was up 20% on Friday and up another 25% here today. Forgive me. What is this? Technology solutions company that operates in the recycling and renewable energy, environmental change, fuels and chemicals sector. Okay, so this is moving with the energy theme then. The company focuses on using waste products to decarbonize the energy, fuels, and chemical sector by providing renewable and recycle alternatives. Okay, well, so first of all, with this fitting into energy, I think that this is going to definitely just kind of play into what we're looking at here, or to what's going on here. I beg your pardon. Looking at the chart here, easy for me to say, this is awesome because the gap here, we filled this gap that goes all the way back to November of 2025. Actually, it looks like we tried to fill that gap earlier this year in February, and we're met with a bunch of selling. Now we're right back on here. This, to me, pretty square. This targets the 200-day moving average as a potential resistance area. Maybe we can break above that. I've got that value at 577. I would imagine that 6.5 is probably where you're going to, 6.5. Sure. Is there something at the round 6 number? I want to just say the round number just for the hell of it, but I'll tell you what, they, based on the trading action, sure looks like 650 might be a next significant resistance here. AGIG. one more thing. I can't recall ever trading this in my life before, so I don't have any idea what kind of edge we have on this stock. Does look like it kind of put in a bottom, no? Really looks like it spent the rest of 2025 bottoming here. Do we have anything? Let's see. What do we do here on splits? Nothing. Offerings? Nothing. See if we have any IPO news. No, I don't really have a whole lot here on this one. AGIG, moving with the theme that we currently discussed, 200-day coming up here as the next potential target. Okay, Cam wants to take a look at Palantir. Yeah, I suspected that this one was going to be in play here today. Palantir. So this is actually kind of interesting. So in addition to being thematic here today, we've actually maybe put in a near-term bottom. Maybe. Oh, that stock was formerly HUSA. Okay, so I did trade that before. So to me, I appreciate this insight there. Thank you. That would be just a vehicle for me. That's not something that I would swing. HUSA was one of those stocks that I would just kind of trade on very, very short term. I'll be honest, if you're trying to trade the theme of energy with the conflict in the Middle East, I think there are better players than some of those small ones for maybe long-term swings or investments. But nonetheless, very thematic here and should move with the rest of these stocks. Appreciate that. Okay, back to Palantir here. It does look like maybe this put in a near-term bottom here. It looks like it's kind of tested this is what, 125, right? Yeah, looks like it's kind of tested this 125 areas thrice. It hasn't quite come in there on that first attempt, but the second two were pretty good. Now, with today's action, we are gapping above the 20-day, which is what we've been using as resistance on this way down, carving out this bottom. So if we can close above this 20-day here, perhaps we can start making some work on the death cross that we just put in. In fact, what day did that cross actually take place? That was, I guess you could make the argument for Wednesday or Thursday of last week. The 25th or the 26th of February, we ended up getting this death cross. If we have any more upside momentum, we actually might be able to turn this around pretty quickly here. This is not... This is not like a big resolution yet. I'd be curious to get 13's opinion on this. We might have to bring Palantir back up here. But I would imagine, kind of just going back to our macro minute for today, if the defense stocks are a theme going forward here, in other words, if there's another leg to the defense stock trade here, I would think that we would probably invalidate this death cross here on Palantir. And furthermore, I would actually put some of the upside targets close to some of those moving averages. Maybe today, 145. If that continues, yeah, I mean, that's only 4 points away. That's totally doable. But otherwise, a lot of this is going to really matter on how we close here today. A lot of this is really going to matter on how we close. If on the flip side of what we were just talking about for some upside there, if the defense stocks weaken, and Palantir coughs up its 20, I think we probably retest 125, honestly. If we can close above this 20-day, maybe some of these charts on some of these names will look even better. Obviously, the defense charts and the defense ETFs, like, for example, ITA, which is just the unlevered one, these charts have been looking great for a long time. So a pullback here, not the same, really, as a pullback on Palantir. A close under this 20-day would not be great for more Palantir upside. Day trader here, 151. Next upside level for Palantir on his chart. So 151. Let's see where that is. So that's basically right in here. Yeah, that was a previous support area. It looks like this on Wednesday, February 4th. We struggled with that area. So I would agree with that. I think that's that's also a nice intermediary spot between these moving averages that we would be looking at. I don't think it's going to go there in one day. So I would stay on top of that. So there you go. 150, 151 upside resistance. And then here, agree with Ryan, 125 looks like a bottom on the daily. It was at risk of a bear flag developing, but now it's broken out on the Iran war. So, okay. So if I think then, given this, I think that where this thing closes is really going. Let me just ask you flat out here. If we cough up this 20-day and we go right back into this range, let's call it maybe 125 to 130-ish, maybe 135, would you be more worried? Would you be worried that we're continuing the possible bear flag? And I mean, I guess if you looked at this on a weekly, you can kind of see that a little bit more clearly. 150, 140. That's your 50 week. That's okay. I'm glad I clicked on the weekly chart here, day trader. I think your 151 spot is right on. I think it's right on there. So Palantir, okay, we'll see here on Palantir. Really good on this one. AV. So that's going to be one of your drone players here. Why don't I have a price here? Yeah, so this is up nicely here today. Earnings in 8 days, so March 10th. AV stock closed at right around, yes, this is up 11%. This, again, best in breed as far as drones go. They do a lot of the ISR drones here, and our price here at 280. This takes us right to the trend line. It takes us right to the trend line. I think I drew this with 13 not long ago. This originates in June of 2024, and we are basically right there and right beneath that 50-day moving average. You definitely want to see a recapture of this. 280, 284, trend line, 50-day moving average. Let's see if we can recapture that. Okay, this was a good start, and I'm glad that we've got a bunch of time to review all of these charts. That should get everyone even more prepared. What we're going to do in the meantime is officially start our pre-market pulse and say good morning and happy Monday to Mr. 13. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing? I'm doing fine. Had a very interesting weekend.
Okay. Do you want to just tell us about it?
No.
I almost.
By the way, how was driving in your car?
I almost TO all over everything. Let me tell you, my opener here was about finding the perfect exhaust note. It was awesome. Okay. It was awesome. It let me forget about a lot of the nonsense that's going on out there in the world. That's for sure. But you know what? Weekends don't last forever, 13. We are back, and we've got to make sense of what's going on.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I took a very brief look at the movers tool earlier. A lot of them looked thematic on either energy or defense as far as some of those micro caps moving up. So I don't know. I was just doing ticker time with the group here. I have a number of tickers that I did not get to. It looks like some of the tickers being thrown out here, like BATL, are going to come on the movers list anyway. Yeah. So do we want to take like a quick thematic look at the movers list and then maybe move back to some of the individual names?
That's fine. However you want to do this, I'm ready to go. It's like you said, it's mostly energy and defense names. I haven't seen the marine insurance names go because they've been pulling insurance for vessels entering the Strait of Hormuz. But I want to keep an eye on them because I think if any of this begins to smooth over or if it starts to cool off, insurance rates are still going to be high, and that could mean higher policy rates, higher premiums. Yeah. So just, it could be like an aftermath play. So just keeping an eye on those.
Okay. So I did kind of tease that a little bit at the opening of the show. I'd like to spend a little bit more time on that, but let's maybe just roll through some of these movers here. Again, a lot of them are moving on the same catalyst. So I don't think we necessarily need to dive into each one individually. We can kind of just hit them as a thematic thing. Sure. The first one here is going to be TMDE. This is TMD Energy. And again, this is trading up because of the conflict here in the Middle East. Looks like the 450 was the high. It's still above its VWAP, but it is kind of in a downward trajectory. So we would want this to maybe hold the VWAP before moving back up. 13, do you have anything on this one at all?
This is one of the newer issues that came out last year. Yep. In the pre-market here, after we hit that 470 high, we did get a little bit past 450. We came right back, and we've been sideways ever since. It's trying to hold above VWAP. So that's kind of where I'm wanting to see this hold up. We do have the 65 EMA beneath it, but this doesn't look too great right now. But it's encouraging that it's going sideways and not lower. So we just need to see this hold above 3, in my opinion, and we can do that as we approach the open. We should see this move back up. That would be my expectation with this one.
Okay. Next here is going to be same theme. This is Battalion Oil. The ticker is BATL. Looks like several folks are on this one here. Indeed, this took off in the pre-market. So what's interesting, it looks like Choctaw. Choctaw here says, I remember you guys talking about it on Friday, so I bought in. Okay, well, I'm glad this one worked for you, but I would just say, just as kind of a blanket statement here, just because we talk about a stock doesn't necessarily mean it's a buy.
Mm-hmm.
That we could talk negatively about a stock, and we're no strangers to that. However, whatever your trade plan is, I'm thrilled that it worked. Now, remember, on Friday, we actually did have this kind of pre-market volume pop. We found resistance at the same area right off the open, and then this thing was just kind of slow, I want to say, the rest of the afternoon. Yeah, sure, we drifted back up, but it was on low volume. Really, all of the action was there in the morning. Now, the big move is here today. So I guess with this moving now into double digits, I sure see some resistance here at 12. We've already made 2 attempts to try and break that down. This 2 above the VWAP. You have any thoughts? But this one also a little bit higher short interest than the last one that we took a look at on TMDE. Nearly 30% of the float shorted on this. 13, any thoughts on BATL?
I like this one a little bit better than
okay.
TMDE because this pattern that it's trading up into is an ascending triangle. So if we use the 1280 high from the impulse move is kind of like the horizontal line, you can see that we've been putting in some higher lows, and if you draw a trend line from the underside of the lows, you can get a ascending triangle formation.
Oh, you know what? You kind of connected these. I see what you did.
Yeah, I didn't draw it through the top of the 286. You could. That looks a little bit more bearish at that point, but I get the sense that we're going to break through this 1280 again. Probably not the open, though. We'll see what ends up happening. A couple other things with this company, though. It does need cash. Fortunately, they did announce in December that they are selling their West business segment. They're trying to get 62.59 million out of that. So that would help their cash position if that gets sold soon.
Okay, that's BATL. I'm going to keep rolling down the list here. Turbo Energy, this is the same deal. Let me just check and make sure I'm not overlooking something specific to this. Here we go. You mean just like this, Ryan? Turbo Energy showcases an AI-driven industrial electrification platform as its $53 million backlog reaches 366 milliwatt hours of deployed and scheduled capacity across 10 manufacturing facilities. So, okay, so this is this is a positive PR for TURB, but this still in the energy theme, so still applicable to what we were saying here. 13, did you by chance cover this press release at all?
I looked at this one. So this company has some other things going on with it, including NASDAQ non-compliance. So they are trying to regain compliance as well. This one a little bit more concerning than the other 2 that we've been looking at here. And now we are starting to leak and lose the VWAP in the pre-market here. This looks like we could come back in a little bit more. We'll see what happens with this 9 EMA on the 5-minute, but it does look like it's trying to roll over here. If that ends up happening, we'll see if it can hold above. I would say initially 105, but it looks more like we're going to get support down from the 90s, the 90-cent area.
Yeah, this is interesting. Just reading directly from the PR here, quote, our AI-driven renewable electrification platform enables operators to proactively shield margins, manage fuel exposure, and strengthen financial resilience in dynamic market conditions. Intelligent storage is emerging as an essential infrastructure for sustaining long-term industrial competitiveness. I tell you what, this press release sure seems like it's written well for the larger, more macro theme that we're seeing here today. I don't know if that's coincidence or otherwise. This stock up 77% and actually doing we actually just lost the VWAP just as we were talking there. So yeah, I like some of the other ones a little bit more still.
Me too. And this one is coming into some support, so we may get a little bit of that here, but I just don't like the way the chart looks. I'm not liking the way the MACD is indicating that this could the momentum could swing to the downside. But there are some support levels to the downside, particularly at the 105 and 95 cent area. So if we get that support, maybe it turns around. But I like these the other names we're looking at better.
Okay, next one here on the list. I think we can be very short about this one. This is TPET Trio Petroleum. The reason it's appearing now is because it just tagged a dollar. This stock is up 138%. It's coming from 42 cents. So factor that in to the trading plan here. 13, I don't know if there's anything specific on TPET that you're looking to cover here today.
Doesn't look like they have a lot of revenue at all. They lose millions a quarter. This looks like one that could, I haven't looked through its recent news, so I don't know if they've done a private placement or a capital offering since their last earnings. They have earnings in 11 days. We'll get a better idea of their balance sheet then. But this looks like one of those companies that could do a capital raise because their income statements are indicating that. It looks like they just had some kind of Q4 earnings here. So no increase, no change in their cash position. I think they'd have to raise some capital at some point soon here.
Last reverse split I see here on TPET was from October of 2024, Bob. So was there new news that's just not reflected in the calendar there? I guess I could always check the news feed here.
Yeah, their last earnings that I see here was January 20th.
Last split.
I know last split is what you said. I'm saying earnings.
Oh, I see. I apologize. I actually don't see anything else here. So I think that one is a little bit stale there, Bob, on TPET. Okay. Next here, USEG. This is US Energy. Again, same deal here, same theme. Any thoughts on this one, on this chart?
Let's see. Oh gosh, it doesn't look like it really moves a whole lot at all, does it? So we just blasted through the 200 and the 500-day SMAs. Two areas that looks like this has been getting suppressed by ever since the middle of last year, July 2025. We lost the 500-day SMA, haven't been able to recapture it. Maybe today's the day. Now we also have some resistance in this 160 area. If I look more to the left, 160 to about, what is this, like 170, 175? That whole area looks like it has some resistance in it. So I don't know how great this one's going to be. I don't even know what this has moved on before that's caused these massive gap ups like we had back in June last year. I don't know that this is necessarily going to provide that same kind of price action, but it is providing some levels of resistance on the way up. And those two around 160 and 175 look to be the next ones.
Okay, there you go. USEG. INDO, we've traded that one a whole bunch. That's moving on the same theme here. We already talked about AAOI. 13, did you? I guess maybe, I don't know. Jay didn't even say good morning today. He just showed up and said, I have a bone to pick with 13. So okay. You guys can handle that whenever you want. We did take a look at AAOI earlier. This obviously after, go ahead.
I don't know how you're able to find and call and pinpoint when to buy. Stocks are about to run 100% in 2 days, but let us know so I can be a part of that.
Yeah. I'd actually ask Kathy. Kathy's been banging the drum here on AAOI, but no,
she's been saying it's going to go 100% in 2 days.
No. She has not been specific about it going 100% in 2 days, but she was one of the early folks on this. I think the beef here, 13, was that we were trying to call a top there.
Just look, because yes, and I wasn't trying to call a top. I was saying that it was already extended and that it should, provide. There should be some resistance, not this massive breakout that we had that took this thing up to let's see, we almost got to $120 in the pre-market, right? That's effectively 100% off the close from Friday. From Thursday. So this thing just blasted off in 2 days to 100% gain. You don't see that very often, and I don't know how you can really pinpoint when that's going to happen. Now, if you knew about the Iran war and this happening ahead of time, like you knew this was going to happen this weekend, then I concede you have way better information than I do.
And you should have been exploiting the prediction markets in that case. Anyway, I can't seem to find Jay's comment here. I'm sure
no, Jay, I was not calling a top. I was saying this is going to be a pullback area or a correction area because we were getting extended. It was already extended. If you want to call it a top, sure, but it was a near-term top because I made a point about another stock that was running that day about how eventually it's going to go higher, but we're going to run into resistance, and that's what we were doing.
Boom. Okay. Do you have any thoughts on where
it's not a big deal? It's I didn't.
No, I know. I'm having fun, guys. Come on.
Okay.
Everyone can smile a little bit. It's okay.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's already run. I mean, what's going to happen next? Do we keep going? I'm not particularly sure. We're going to keep going, but don't listen to me about AAOI.
My thought on this move that we're seeing here today is this is a move you trim into.
I agree.
Day Trader says it was reasonable to take profits on Friday. I would agree, and I would say today, even more reasonable.
Yeah, where does this party end for AAOI?
Hey,
it's well beyond the valuation that makes sense.
And actually, let me we'll do a really quick mic drop on this. We'll do a very quick mic drop on this. I'll show you why. Because 13 does call tops. And when he does, we mark them on the chart. And this is what happened the last time 13 called the top. We're still not back up there. So let's just taking gains.
It's one stock I was
possible
completely wrong
pullback,
about.
Not the same as calling a top. Very.
And I even said on Friday I was completely wrong about that. I have no problem with.
Look, Jay just woke up prickly today, and you're his target. It is what it is.
Okay, now that I agree with. Nobody knows sell rips and raise stops, and we were ripping all through this week with AAOI. I don't think there was a red day that we had last week, did we? Let me double check here.
And here, Alpha Trade said, Alpha, are you asking or are you saying good time to fade AAOI? Let me clarify that. Are you asking if this is a good time to fade it, or are you saying, hey, given this move, this is a good time to fade it? Let me know. Okay. So now really quickly, just kind of going off of the rest of the list here. We did have a couple of others here. I wanted to see if Sabre, Monday, March 2nd, we're on Sunday, software breaks off for board negotiations. So this is Sabre here is moving off of limited duration shareholder rights plan. So Sabre's not moving on the energy theme here. I'd actually have to go through this a little bit and see what's going on. So there are a couple of movers on this list, SABR and then RLYB, which is Rally Bio. This is moving on a merger where they're taking over Candid Therapeutics, stocks up 36%. I don't know anything about the pipelines for these two companies, unfortunately, but this also on the movers list here today, not connected to the conflict in the Middle East. The other one that was on here was HKD. We covered this.
This one's back.
Listen, not only is this one back, this one had a 565.7% increase in revenue and 132.7% increase in net income. So not only is it back, you might say it's back with a vengeance. And this is gapping up on that news here today. Now, really quickly, given some of those eye-popping numbers, look at the actual price action on this. We've come back in. We came back in the after hours on Friday, and we've come back in even more here in the pre-market. So this is one I am definitely avoiding this here today, without a doubt.
Float's a little heavy too, but what is the short interest like? Negligible.
Here we go. Kathy, love it. There's Kathy. Good morning, Kathy. I hope you had a good weekend. I sold 1/3 on Friday because we just agreed that it was reasonable to take profits on AAOI on Friday. That's exactly what Kathy did, and we'll trim another 1/3 here today. Set an alert for a pullback buy. This is really good. This is really good strategery, Kathy. This is not to invoke Jay Rice, who's might be a little prickly here today, but this is the Jay Rice trim method where you trim often after huge moves here, making sure you book as much of that. I love it.
I also
love it.
I also like Dive Deep mentioning that. Well, he was mentioned RTX on Friday. I still own this one. I think RTX is probably going to be, or is probably the best defense stock to own right now. I know Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, they're great, but this one has by far, as far as I can understand, the biggest backlog. Like I think it's approaching 200 billion.
And that's probably going to be even more now.
I think it's over 200 billion.
They make a lot of missiles, and those missiles were used, so that's probably going to keep growing here.
That requires upkeep. So all these defense names that have these systems sent out to different countries, well, they're effectively going to be on some kind of it's not a subscription plan. It's like a maintenance contract, but it feels like a subscription plan because they're constantly having to maintain and update these systems.
Okay. Okay, let me go back to the big chart here. I think we're pretty much done with the movers. You guys are also talking about light. That plays into AAOI. So let me go back and take a look at that. That's LITE here. So here's what Lumentum is doing. This stock is up another 7% here today. And a quick peek at the news here. Jay, I'll get you in here in a sec. From this morning, NVIDIA announces a strategic partnership with Lumentum to develop state-of-the-art optics technology. NVIDIA is investing $12 billion in Lumentum for this project. Now, Jay, here, you had already offered your opinion, so I'm going to go ahead and start from here. Jay saying it's up, AAOI is up on this news. My guess is, though, Fatum. They did fade the NVIDIA Nokia news a while back for a reference, same as most of the NVIDIA partnerships like NVTS. Actually, this would have worked well on SoundHound after that initial impulse move as well, as SoundHound came back in and has not revisited those highs quite a bit. So, Jay, you're on to something here. So it sounds to me, based off this comment, that trimming more probably the best move here today, whether it's light, AAOI, or otherwise. CN, that's the other one, at CIEN. So seems like might be another trim day here. That's good if you're in all of those profits here, if you have a whole bunch of profits on these. Yeah.
Okay, so I haven't read all of this. And is this going to be, is this for photonics that this news is, like photonic chips? Remember we talked about this like maybe a year or two ago, Ryan, how there's going to be this move or this push into minimizing, system to system, network to network data transfer rates by converting as much as possible into fiber optic and photonic chipsets, basically making things operate on light instead of electrons. This, I'm wondering if this kind of falls in with that, because while optics can mean a number of things, it can mean cameras, it can mean sensors. It could also mean photonic chips, especially when it comes to NVIDIA. So I'm wondering if that's what is happening here. If this is going to be a move, not so much in the realm of sensors and camera optics, but data transfer optics technologies.
Yeah, so it could, because in this context, optics is the broader category. Photonic chips are just one specific type of optics. So basically, the press release doesn't make any mention of that specifically, but based on what this is saying, that is a safe assumption. That's what I gathered so far. So, okay.
So it gives me some homework to do. I want to look at some of the other optical names we were bringing up. I may have made a watch list, and I have to look and see if I did. But I think that's going to be some, because I know that Broadcom's also working on something like that, and IBM also has some kind of photonic chip patents to make something similar to what we're talking about here. So I'll have to go back and look and see if I can find that list.
Okay, all right. There you go, Kathy. Let me know if that was all right there for you. I think we hit a lot of these. Matt wants to take a look at NVIDIA. Okay. Let's do that here real quick. So here's NVIDIA. Now, this is important because, again, we're at the 200. We actually gapped beneath it. So we'll see here if we can recapture it. The last time we came in towards the 200, this did actually serve as a really good buying opportunity, and we have not been beneath the 200 since May of last year. So this would be important if we close here. What else did you have to say there on NVIDIA real quick? Any lower trend lines on NVIDIA that we spoke about? So let's see what we have here. 13, do you have any that I'm missing here? I have a lower trend line that connects the low, but that was back from 2025.
We just broke beneath a trend line that we drew from the lows of September through the lows of like December or November. We're opening. We're going to open beneath it today for the first time. So,
got it.
Let me see. Might have some other trend lines we can.
So Cam, I think this is what you were. Oh, not Cam. Retro. Excuse me. I think this is what you were talking about. 13. I believe this is the trend line that you're talking about. This originated on Friday, September 5th. So we are actually breaking beneath that. Lion here saying NVIDIA is going lower. I'll tell you what. A close beneath the trend line here and the 200-day, that certainly sets it up for a move lower. Here's my question: how low does it go? So for those of you that think NVIDIA is going lower, let me know, what spot would you actually like to buy this? If it does do what you think it should do you like it at 140? Are you waiting out 120? Are you waiting out 100? Are you avoiding AI completely and tech completely, which I guess is something else? Let me know where you think this goes. 13, I'll let you break this chart down. I'm going to step away for just 1 second. Is that all right? You have
enough? I'm just kind of looking and kind of seeing where I think this may end up going here. I'm looking at some longer time frames. This certainly looks like we're coming in. I don't know. I have a trend line that I'm not sure about, so we're just going to, kind of ignore that for now. But I do like this 20-month SMA where it's located, because if you look at a monthly chart, there's this area that we ran up to from the beginning of 2024 to November of 2024, more like the summer. We just kind of started hitting this 150 area, and we couldn't get through it. We spent a couple months trying to get through that area, and it ended up causing the price to reverse and come back into the 20-month SMA. That was back in April of the Liberation Day unwind when we hit that 20-month SMA. Now we've since moved off of that. We broke through that 150 resistance, and now it's become support. So I think that area, that 150 area, combined with the 20-month SMA, looks like a pretty good support area to me. So that would be about so the 20-month SMA is 152.45. That's just a little bit higher than our 150. So I kind of would think that area there, this gap with no new all-time highs except for one from June, I think that could be the spot there, that 150 area. So you're looking at 160, David. That makes that I could see that too. Some folks saying 170, 171. I don't disagree with that either. It looks like 171 could provide some support, but I don't think it's going to be strong enough. I think we still end up going on to lose that. I like the 150. Let's call it 150 to 155. I like that area better. That's just me though. You guys, if they're 170, you might be right. I have a level marked off at 171, so I don't want to completely poo-poo that, but I think that based on a monthly chart, seeing as how we had a hard time getting above 150, and then after Liberation Day, we blasted through it, and now it's support. I think that's the spot, the 150 area. You like 147 Market Sniper? I'm there with you too.
Okay. Great stuff there on NVIDIA. Looks like we're all pretty much in alignment there. Okay, we got 4 minutes here. 13, did you see any tickers here that you want to cover that flew across the chat? Maybe there's some that you have anyway.
Folks were mentioning some of the shipbuilders and some of the other shippers. Huntington Ingalls was one of them. You had some of the shippers that are seeing a move, not so much from Zim as much as we are from FRO.
And really quick here. So here's Huntington Ingalls, and this is up 1.68%. But I just noticed, whose comment was this? Josh in the chat saying gold and silver way down. I'm looking at an intraday chart here. Here's your GLD. Take a look at this. Here's your GLD. Big pull here on GLD. Here's your SLV. Another big pull in SLV. Let me see if there's something else going on here. S&P futures look relatively unchanged here, down 1.24%. Let me see what else I have here. I just want to see if there's anything accounting for this. And we can go back to HII there in a sec.
Yeah, this just started happening. It was starting to weaken, before I came on, but we are seeing a big acceleration once we lost, for SLV, once we lost 85 and back tested it, we went lower. So I don't know what the news is yet, or if there's something else that's something geopolitical that's causing this.
Yeah, I saw that Hegseth was saying that there's not going to be any U.S. boots on the ground, which is just we've already kind of heard that. This was just confirmation of that. I don't know if that's what's driving this down here, though. Definitely something to watch. Really quickly here, Sam King saying, would anyone do an option right out of the gate, or would you wait out the first candle? I can't tell you what everyone or what anyone's going to do, but I can tell you what I'm going to do here. I am not going to trade right out of the gate. I think that this is very susceptible to head fakes. To me, I just feel like you're probably a bit safer waiting a little bit, seeing if any of your levels get hit, as opposed to just chasing whatever the reaction is right out of the gate. That's just me. 13, do you have any opinion on that?
What was the question? Sorry, I was reading something.
It wasn't. Would anyone do an option right out of the gate, or would you wait for the first candle?
Oh, I don't know if you'd want to even just wait for only the first candle. You might want to wait a little bit longer. But don't take it from me. I wouldn't touch options quite yet. I think we're going to experience volatility right out of the gate, and unless you trade options frequently to know how to do that, it's not going to be for me.
Yeah, and I would say here, Replay Game Lab saying retail trader is the ability to sit on hands. And I think that's actually correct. As a retail trader, that is one of your options. And again, in a day like today, in the spirit of not panicking, I think that Replay Game Lab is exactly right. Maybe use that to your advantage and sit out until you feel comfortable.
Richard, that's old news. That came out like I think the middle of last year when we got news that China discovered some kind of massive historic gold deposit, but that hasn't been verified independently. So it's really just China saying they found a lot of gold.
Okay. Day trader, I'm waiting for 15 minutes like most days. Me too. I'm not doing anything different. Lion says he's all in. Okay, well, at least we've got varying opinions across the board here. That's phenomenal.
Here we go.
All right, we are open. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we get here today.
All right, looks like lots of back and forth with AOI, TMDE. This is coming into the 65 EMA. I think Battalion was the one that was looking the best. That's still also leaking.
That was BATL. Good morning, Ryan. Good to see you.
We'll see if this holds up. Looks like it could still end up coming down to the 65 EMA before it gains some strength. A lot of these names we've seen over the past week, they kind of, they've been running up, into the open. They kind of sell, and then they start trading better.
Okay, so for those of you asking about options right out of the gate, I'm looking at the unusual options here. I see unusual options on both the put and the call side for names like NVIDIA, Google, Tesla, Apple. I've only seen puts. Was there a call in there that maybe I missed? Or Oracle, seeing calls and puts there. There's a couple of call flows. Again, another mixed spot of NVIDIA. Looks like more NVIDIA calls are getting bought, but I am seeing both. NVIDIA straight up out of the gate. So seems like there's a lot of indecision here. Now, S&P futures are ticking up here, but again, kind of what I was mentioning, maybe a little bit of a head fake there. I would say if you're asking, should I trade this? The only person that's going to be able to answer that question is you and your own risk tolerance. Is this something that you feel comfortable being in?
So, what's interesting is that Microsoft didn't move at all. From Friday to today, it didn't move at all. The close on Friday was 392.74. Today's open 392.86. It didn't move.
So are you kind of thinking here maybe a near-term bottom is in?
It's possible. We need to see some things happen. For me, I need to see a recapture of this 20-day SMA. That's going to be the first thing. And we need to hold more than 1 day above 400. But we haven't really, it's great because, on a day like this where you would expect a lot of things to be down, Microsoft didn't do anything.
Yeah, that is interesting. That's notable. I'm glad that you brought this up, 13. I'm really glad that you brought this up. Ondas spiking out of the gate here. Kathy mentioning RCAT up 14%. We took a look at some of those smaller drone names earlier. All of those are reacting the exact same here. Ondas up 10.5%. RCAT up 15.5%. UMAC was another one that we put on that list there. Unusual Machines, that's up 10% here. We also talked briefly about Kratos Defense, that's up 6.6%. And then AV was another one that we took a look at. That is up 14%. That actually looked like it tried to go a little bit more.
Look at some of the other drone names here too. Like obviously we already know AOI is having a day, but AMPX, look at this thing just rip right out of
That's the battery play for drones, isn't it?
Battery play, yeah. Yep.
There's your thing behind the thing trade. That's straight up. That's no chill so far.
Yep. Some of these, it looked like there were some opportunities abound here. Hey, look, BMNR. This is also having a good day.
So here, Joystick. I love our Twitch viewer. I love that we have a Twitch viewer named Joystick.
That's
by the
very
way.
true. Great point there, Joystick.
Largest OpenAI shareholder. Sam just signed the military contract. Perhaps that's one of the things that's buoying Microsoft there.
After
our Twitch group
got smacked down because
don't sleep on the Twitch group 13. That's what I learned.
Yeah, after Anthropic declined to give the Department of War what they wanted, then they had that fit. Now it's OpenAI.
There were some reports that Anthropic technology was used in this, although I'm not sure how confirmed that stuff is. Really quick, Anne Marie here saying AMPX is a battery play. You said that means her ears are perking up, which has me interested. Anne Marie. Amprius Technology is engaged in the production of silicon anodes and high energy density lithium ion batteries. And our thought was that it was these types of batteries that would be used in the drone applications that we were talking about.
There
you go. There's your connection.
And one of the companies they partner with is Cooler.
D-Pro getting mentioned here. That's Dragonfly. New highs here. Here's Cooler 13. That's KULR.
Well, I'm not suggesting that they're doing great today, but it looks like they're doing okay. But we know about Cooler. We know what they do. Battery thermal management is still an issue. We still have battery fires.
NVIDIA is straight up out of the open. This already has gone red to green. Market is trying to do the same. S&P futures only down 0.75% here. Remember, I had said at the outset here, I would not be surprised if we closed green here today.
Turb went down to 110 out of the open, and now it's turning around. Can't quite see the same
Turb,
yet.
TURB. Did I get that right?
Yep. Can't quite see the same yet for some of the other names we looked at. Battalion went down to the 65 EMA, bounced a little bit. It's still beneath VWAP, trying to recapture it. TMDE, this thing lost VWAP and the 65 EMA. It's trying to get some support from the 260 area. We'll see if this can turn around, but volume doesn't look great right now. Turd going down. Okay.
Turb, by the way, on the 15-minute chart has now put in a fair value gap. We did actually test into this gap here. No position for me, but just FYI. This is what we're kind of looking at here on Turb.
Okay, I got to look and see what Bitcoin's doing.
I can tell you, Bitcoin here is actually up 1.1%. It is at 66,600 on the futures chart. That's Bitcoin futures, excuse me.
Yeah, this thing's been going sideways for some time. Kind of like it ran into a sideways area, huh?
Hippo says, I thought 13 said turd and I damn near spit out my coffee. I also did a double take. It sounds like the producer did too.
I did, because the producer said something about turd. So
really quickly here, Anne-Marie. So Anne-Marie, I'm going to fold you in because we were getting asked about this earlier here. My suggestion was maybe just kind of wait out the open here, maybe sit on hands. Anne-Marie is saying really big orders are coming through the order book here on the ES. Anne-Marie, what does that cause you to do? Is this an active trade for you? What are you thinking here? Is this something that you want to follow along? Are you also waiting? Maybe sitting on your, tell us what this means to you as far as the session here today goes. Buy side, Anne-Marie is long. Okay.
Arc seller, don't disagree that about the about BTC, but I'm not going to call it dead money, but I don't disagree that it's unfavorable, but it is a very good indicator of risk on. So when I see Bitcoin go up, I'm thinking, okay, so should a lot of different aspects of the market.
NVIDIA here, this is straight up out of the gate. Some of these SPY calls, if you were, so here we go. So the market has already made me look like a fool once today. It's early, so we probably have some more of that. Here's the thing. So if you're trading 0 DTE SPY calls or really any new SPY position, it is straight up out of the open here. Now, will this pop get sold later in the day? Possibly, we'll see. S&P futures now only down 0.64%. Remember, these were down 1.25% earlier today. How's AAOI doing? Okay, so we pulled off the high. AAOI actually gave up the pre-market high in the pre-market and actually on a move lower here.
It's coming into some support. I think the $100 area, you get maybe at least a 5-minute candle or two. support. Don't know if we're going to get a turnaround though, but it's really interesting how it lines up with the 65 EMA.
That SPY push that we were talking about here right out of the open, it's meeting its first sign of resistance here on the 5-minute chart. The NASDAQ looks the same.
Some names from last week looking pretty good here. We did trade Xwell a lot. That's up this morning out of its open. I mean, we were kind of sideways and we went lower on Friday. There was another one I was just looking at. We know about iBit. Circle having a great day. Look at this thing go. This thing opened at about in the 80 handle. It's now approaching 90.
That's CRCL. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. Okay, so Circle, this is spiking here. Ondas, that's still at the highs. Jay mentioning that the memory names did red to green already. A lot of red to green calls out there. So here's your memory names.
Thursday, we made Thursday's high for Circle was 90.60. We're on our trajectory to hit that.
Well, I gotta tell you what, all these charts look similar here. How does IREN look too? IREN not yet. Energy names looking good. NVIDIA, that did actually run into some resistance there at 180. I
don't know.
AOI continuing to pull back here.
I think we're going to unhalt soon, but TURB, TURB, this halted not too long ago, and it looks like we're trying to come up to this trend line that I drew with the underside of the pre-market wicks on the underside after the impulse move. So if we do get that pretty soon here, we're probably coming up to maybe 140, where we were getting some resistance earlier in the pre-market.
USEG, this is really pulling back in. This is actually trading on pretty high volume here, over 1 million shares in the last minute.
Yeah, something's pulling back a little bit. So I'm still going. AOI is at its 65 EMA. It's losing it. And we've got TURB is open. We went to the trend line.
Let me put TURB back up here as that resumption is in. AOI sub 100. TURB right through that 140.
Yep, and we could halt again if we get through 150. It looks like it slowed down, so I'm not sure now. But we were just taking off there for a moment. TMDE, nothing but red candles today. Battalion, same thing. The charts look very similar. Meanwhile, Xwell still climbing.
XWEL. Netflix getting mentioned here, so that's still shy of 100, although it looks like it had a nice little pop out of the open up towards 98. That got sold. So interesting. So that move did take us above Friday's intraday highs, so it looks like Netflix trying to carve out a range to go higher. This little pullback here on the S&P 500, this has been met with buyers now, so we'll see if we reverse here.
Everything just coming in. Well, not everything, but lots.
S&P futures here down 0.69%. S&P futures currently sitting at 68.41. Let's see, S&P cash here 68.32 and the SPY sitting at 681.
All right, we hit 90 in Circle, so that one could start cooling off whenever. There was also another one I just saw that we were looking at earlier.
Really quick here, Anne-Marie saying shorts are getting caught flat-footed here. At this time, the first buyers will be the short covering.
Light really coming in. 65 EMA is down at 717. We could get some support from 720. On Friday, that was the high.
Ondas still near the highs. Tesla near the highs. That's actually making a move towards 400. Looks like Goldman Sachs is up. Did Goldman Sachs go ex-dividend today? Let me see.
The market, the Iran strikes had an effect on the market. That's why all these energy names and defense names are up today. Now it's a lot of profit taking that we're seeing here, but the strike affected the market.
Goldman Sachs is in fact ex-div today, only down 0.2%. TPET is halted. A number of you guys are mentioning TPET. That's to the upside here. 134 Trio Petroleum.
I saw that the mineral names were doing pretty well early this morning. Is that not the case anymore? No. Freeport's down.
Amazon, little dip and rip there. Bitcoin, also, you were talking about Bitcoin and the possible risk on earlier. Bitcoin's still climbing here, actually trying to break its intraday structure on Bitcoin.
Yep. BMNR still taking off. A lot of these other Bitcoin names, taking off as well. Gosh, what was I just looking at there? So AMPX still trying to climb. We're running into some resistance at around 11:30. AOI losing at 65 EMA. Now Battalion it's recapturing its 65 EMA, and it's trying to recapture VWAP, trying to turn around here and recapture some of these levels. Turb got rejected by that trend line. It's large seller in the way, suppressing the upside. It's hanging out at 141 right now.
Commodities will continue to follow each other here today. Jay saying, Ryan, did you see the news, the MFS news on Friday? It took all the financials down. They seem like they're bouncing back here today, though, Jay. Market continuing to try and push higher here now. 682 going for 683. Remember, 684 was a previous level on SPY. That was notable for us. Looks like maybe we're going for that.
Oh yeah, Redwire having a good day too, and I think that's more on the you're going to see some of those names that are involved with the Golden Dome, and I think this is one of them.
Yes, you're right. Big Bear Hog saying he's loving the volume in SanDisk here today. SanDisk still down 2.4%. Wow, that did red to green and immediately came back in. Did Micron do something similar, or are we holding higher on some of these names? So Micron pulled back, but still performing better. Anne-Marie's asking what those Golden Dome names are that you have, 13.
Oh, gosh. You'll have to give me a second.
Anne-Marie asked the tough questions. Take that.
Well, it's because I know we've got a whole bunch of names that were thrown out there for Golden Dome contracts. I just can't remember them all. Yeah, give me a second. Probably should have put together a watch list, but so many of them were defense names anyway.
See if there's anything else out there that is affecting this. No, looks like nothing else new here. S&P 500 continuing to climb higher here.
Okay, so there's a Shield vendor list that is probably going to be the best thing that we can have that we look at here. Let me do this.
While you're doing that, registering for Anne-Marie flat on her futures trade now. That was straight up out of the open. Anne-Marie, ring that register. Right, really good stuff. And I appreciate you shouting out your plan. Sorry, 13.
I just posted a Golden Dome a vendor list, a Shield vendor list for the Pentagon, and I posted it in the private chat. So it's got, and yeah, you're right. Oracle's on there.
Here, let me, I can share this with the group. Let me share this with the group here real quick. This is what 13 was posting. Yep. Hello, Tiny Pie.
Yeah, and it breaks it up into aerospace and defense giants, the emerging space and satellite tech. Interestingly, they don't have Redwire on there, but they do have Sidus Space, Lunar, ASTS, and Rocket Lab. Booz Allen Hamilton is part of the AI software and digital defense, which is interesting. But of course, so is Palantir and Oracle. You also got AV on there, Honeywell, Katos. So you know, there are others. This is not the complete list, but let me see if I can get some more names here for you. But this is a good start.
Seeing if I see any other like breaking news come out here. Not yet, though.
Yeah, I don't think Ionix
Not yet.
I don't think Ionix on that list, but they should be. Yeah, I don't see them on there, but they're supposed to be on there. Sorry, let me just look and see if I can get a better list for you. But that should be a good start with what I provided there.
UAMI is popping. I think Lion mentioned this one. UAMI actually came back in. And then the Circle, you guys were talking about Circle earlier. Obviously, those levered ETFs are moving with that as well.
Antimony is going to be huge for the military, so absolutely. Oh yes, IRDM, Iridium, that's also going to be part of the U.S. defense spending. I don't know if it's necessarily for the Golden Dome, but it's going to be part of defense spending. Yeah, I'll have to get a list together and bring it back, but hopefully these are providing something of a starting point for the Golden Dome. We should probably put together a list.
Yeah, that might be we'll see how long our demonstration on happy hour goes here today. Glenn here, hit my target on Ondas, hit my target in previously posted chat. Scroll up. I'll be honest with you, Glenn. I'm looking for it here. I can't really find it. you might have to repost that, but a good call nonetheless here. Can't find your previous post, I'm afraid.
Yeah, we were just, there was a point when we were getting a whole bunch of names as part of the Golden Dome initiative when those contracts were getting thrown out, and it seemed like there was quite a bit of them. But Iridium and Redwire did stand out because those are two that I like a lot in the space theme.
The bounce that we have been watching here pretty much since the open, meeting its second red candle on the 5-minute chart, third red candle here, so maybe slowing down. Also, breadth has flipped green on the Dow, still negative on the S&P, Qs, Russell, and Nice.
So Turb is halted again, and this looks like it's trying to break through the 158 pre-market high.
Indeed, halted right up at that area there, 13.
BM&R looking for 20. Bitcoin must still be going up.
Bitcoin is at the day highs now, 67,450 on the futures chart.
And here's another name that's having a good day too. We talked about this one last week, earlier this last month. They also got picked up by Amazon. Beta Technologies having a nice rip today.
That's BETA, right?
Yep.
This is at the high from the pre-market on Friday.
Yeah, it looks like it's trying to get through 20 here.
Nokia, this is still going higher here. What do we got on the daily here? Yep, we're coming up to that 8 and change, 820-ish.
100%, Jay. Dell had an absolutely phenomenal quarter, and that looks like that's going to be a company that's going to continue to do well.
How are they doing today?
They're up slightly.
They've already gone red to green?
Yeah. Yeah, but those earnings, their guidance, top notch.
Really nice looking pop there on the Dell daily chart too.
Kathy bringing up LPTH, another fiber optic name. Yep.
That's LightPath, right? Yep.
I don't know when exactly Turb was halted, but this
I can tell you that was halted at 9:48.49, 13.
Okay, so it's only been about 4 or 5 minutes.
Correct.
It should still be another like 10 minutes before this unhalts.
ALM, Almonte, this continues to go straight up since we debuted his interview here on All Access. One up for our group.
Now that's the titanium play, right?
Tungsten.
Tungsten, sorry.
Tungsten. He's the leading tungsten producer in the world.
Well, do you have this on a daily chart? Did you draw the trend lines, the broadening wedge?
I don't recall. I don't see any here. No, I did not. Let me do it here on this one, though. I think that I see the top end of this.
Yeah,
anyway.
let's focus on the top one because this is getting extended and we've broken through this trend line. I get the sense we back test it now.
Okay, here I think I estimated your broadening, Reg.
Yeah, I used the July 2025 high and the October 2025 high.
Yeah, and then how about for the downside? So I used the July and November 2025 lows. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I want to see
pretty good there.
So the next thing that we were probably going to end up seeing with this is when this comes back in, maybe even fills this gap here. I would expect that the trend line provides some support. And it's interesting too, because the $17 area was a bit of a breakout spot. You can see how on Tuesday and Wednesday last week,
right here. Yep.
Struggling to get through there. And then on Thursday, we broke through and we've been continuing upwards ever since. So I get the sense that 170 and this trend line are going to come into play on the price coming in.
AOI, Billy here mentioning went to 95, the 50-day moving average on the 15-minute chart. So the 50 EMA, excuse me, Billy. Sorry about that. Now, this did cough up 100 here.
Turb blasted off to 168, came right back in and found support at the VWAP. It is halted to the downside.
Yep, indeed it is.
Bitcoin up at a resistance area of 6,700. I'm sorry, 67,000. I have this marked off here. This has been a support resistance area in the past. Going to see some good volume to get through this and hold above it. Now, if this does end up happening to where we recapture that, I would think that the next resistance. Well, we actually have to get through some of these EMAs first. I would think the next resistance is probably going to be about 68,000. I know it's only 1,000 away, but it looks like that is also a support resistance area as of recently.
Yeah, I was going to say 13. I'm kind of looking at this chart. It actually looks like we lost 68,000 before we made this move down to near 65,000. Yeah, so that 68 looks to be important. Important level. Lion here selling a put on ALM. Okay, so collecting premium here, and you don't mind getting assigned if it comes in. Love it. Market bounce fading a little bit here. We're S&P futures down 0.65%. We'll see if it actually holds this area here. This is actually a pivot level. Joe, it's good to see you this morning. Joe mentioning CrowdStrike. Don't worry, I won't screw that one up today. CrowdStrike plus 3%. How is the cyber names doing just in general? Palo Alto, that's also green here by about 0.5%.
You are correct, Kevin. That is about where that 200-day SMA is. AMPX getting mentioned by Mr. Ryan Milligan.
So 1150 looks to have stopped that. That was actually a full dollar move from the open there. If S&P futures can regain some strength here and make another move higher, we'll see. Palantir holding about 143. Ondas still at the highs. That recaptured 12. That's giddy up.
So
defense names looking good still.
Intuit getting some support from 400 and took off this morning. Now we're trying to get through 420. No way. Are you serious? The high for Intuit today is 420.69. Who's trading this? Elon Musk?
Yeah, take that. Take that.
Jesus, these guys.
AAOI, maybe putting in a little bit of a bounce here. Don't have anything great from the fair value gap indicator on this, unfortunately. I thought we might get one, but this actually looks like it's holding a pre-market level here at 96 and change.
AOI trying to get some support here. Turning around, needs to recapture the 65 EMA. It's getting support from the sideways consolidation in the pre-market. This creating a bit of a demand zone. see how strong that is. I need to see better volume to get through the 65 and the VWAP. Beta running into some resistance, just over 20.
Excuse me?
Still trying to recapture that 65 EMA, AMPX.
Beta looks like it's struggling with that $20 level really bad.
Yeah, this does.
Let's see. So seeing some more calls on some of the energy names there. COP, the most recent one. Those are the 120 calls for March. XOM also on there. LNG on there for natural gas. So a lot of calls on some of the energy names still getting bought on the options market. Bank of America, Astus, put buys. Netflix more calls, Apple more calls, KTOS more calls, Palantir puts, interesting.
That stuff looking weak.
SPY actually looks like it might be trying to push higher. I think it's going to need to do more than this, though. And I think we're going to really need to get over 683.5 on the SPY to do any meaningful move higher.
One from last week, PRAA, Pro Group. This has been, it hasn't really had a whole lot of volume, but it's moving up, and it's coming to Friday's resistance area of 1650. So it might be worth keeping an eye on that one.
Lion says we may see a sell-off in the afternoon, and indeed. And I think that if you're going to trade any of those, or if you're going to trade just kind of around what's going on here, you definitely want to keep a close eye on it. Not one that you want to walk away from. That stuff can change quickly here. What do you have?
There's a lot of different things we could see this afternoon. It could be a sell-off. It could. I don't know what it could be because this just started. And we're going to get some more news. We're going to get more headlines that are going to make us think one thing or the other. This is, think back to, when, well, I guess this is not the same thing because we're more heavily involved. But I was going to say, think back to what the market, how the market reacted when Russia invaded Ukraine. But we weren't directly involved with that.
Around here, so Bitcoin looks like it stopped just shy of that 68. Oil futures, those are also coming in. Now they're still up 6%, but those are down from their highs. Remember, we were in about a 73 at the high. Let's see, what do I have here for that? Yeah, 73.5 was about your morning high. Currently at 71 on CL futures.
AOY looks like next support could be down at about 89. Lots of names starting to move sideways here. Trying to sniff out a direction. Bitcoin new highs. Sorry.
Here, nope, you're all good. Anne Marie saying we most definitely we should see selling. I think the initial balance will tell the tale. Brian says tomfoolery, which is always a good vocab word to use, Brian.
BM&R for 20.
BM&R. And then as far as some of the defense names, so as I had outlined earlier, I was playing some of these defense ETFs for a possible mention of defense at the State of the Union, which we really didn't get a whole lot of. This conflict, though, obviously causing these stocks to pop. So the strategy here was long some of the DFEN levered calls for March. Those contracts expire in 18 days. And then long some of ITA, which is the unlevered defense ETF for April, give it some more time. So as far as the trade closing plan here, the calls that I have are DFEN 100 March calls. So I would love for this to get in the money, and then we'll probably sell those. The strategy here is that I will sell the shorter dated calls first and take gains on those and let the contracts that I have more time on perhaps run a little bit. So in a perfect world, we get DFEN up towards 100 here, and we can close that trade, book some of those gains, and then leave the ITA trade long. I still think some of these defense names are likely going to continue. Lion, I know that you had said you think defense names are also going to continue. So that's just kind of the strategy there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've got me. Okay, so the top three. What do you think are the top three defense names?
You mean like individual names?
Yeah.
I would have to say RTX, LMT. I don't think Northrop Grumman, although maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe, let's go those three. Let's go those three.
They
In
all
order,
have,
I'd go RTX, LMT, NOC.
they all have billions and billions in backlog. I think RTX has the most and Northrop Grumman has the least. But Northrop Grumman, I think it's like something like 86 billion in backlogs. Lockheed Martin's over 100, and RTX is over 260 billion in backlog. So, yeah, I think they are going to continue to do well because they've got business. And with this talk about increasing the defense budget, by our president, I mean, we could see it even continue to climb through this whole year.
AAOI calls getting bought here. These are the 100 calls that expire in September. 300 of them were bought for 1.05 million.
I will say that I think they are going to, come back in a little bit. I think a lot of these names are these defense names are at all-time highs now. So I would expect some selling, maybe some gap filling. So that a lot of these are gapping up today, but I could see these continue to go higher. Just for Lockheed, let's hold above the 20-day SMA. RTX, let me see RTX here. RTX, this looks like we're going to come underneath the 20 at some point soon. They come back into 200. This candle, today's candle, that could be reversal. This abandoned baby reversal candle, possibly.
Oh, there we go. The abandoned baby coming back.
We'll see if that's what ends up happening. We're going to need to see a gap down tomorrow if that's the case. So it's a 3-day candle pattern. This is day 2.
Okay, looking around here, let's see if there's anything else new that we haven't talked about.
Yeah, so I expect defense names will probably see some profit taking, but with that backlog, they should do well. Good. Another name we got from the happy hour, GSIT, not having too bad of a day either.
This is the satellite. This is a satellite play, right?
I think this is a semi name. Let me double check. I could be wrong about that.
Semiconductor memory solutions. You got it correct.
Yeah. Yep. Did I see? Or no, I didn't. What were you saying about VELO?
I think he's thing. I'll let him rephrase that. I think he was asking if you were still long Velo. Velo having a really good day today, up 12.5% nearly.
I am. I do still have VELO. Yep.
S&P futures now only down 0.35%. So still on track for a potential red-green move here.
Maybe a disgruntled parent, Anne-Marie? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, some of those names are just a little too wild. I can't help but chuckle. I really shouldn't be chuckling at abandoned baby. That's terrible. So,
so Trey Blue mentioning that Planet Labs, interesting at this breakout. I haven't looked at Planet Labs, but this is a imaging from space company. They do have a big defensive application, but they're also used in a variety of other applications like agriculture and weather.
So Jay is asking if you think Velo is a defense play. Maybe perhaps a thing behind the thing there is it 3D prints some of these parts for some of the defense applications.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what defense parts they're the 3D printing. I know that they're heavily involved with the 3D printing of rocket engine components for SpaceX. So I would think that it would be in that realm of highly sophisticated internal engine components or complex machines that are used for the military. Those kind of components I would expect. But I don't know exactly what they're 3D printing for U.S. military applications.
I just took a brief overview of their website. I didn't see it either, but I very easily could have missed it.
But
S&P, 13 S&P futures continuing to move higher here, now only down 0.24% as we close in on our red to green move here.
Let's see. Okay, so we just talked about how Velo makes components for rocket engines. So interestingly, they also make propulsion system components for missile systems. So my thought would be they probably have some kind of, and I don't know this for a fact, but I think they may have some kind of contract with maybe RTX or Boeing, ground combat vehicles, weapons components, naval parts, heat exchangers, specialized hardware. They are making components for the military. U.S. Army's ground vehicle systems, the GVSCs, their defense innovation, they're partnered with the Department of Defense and their innovation unit. I absolutely think that they're making components for the military. Just couldn't exactly say which ones are for which companies, but I have my guesses. Yes, absolutely. RRDM as well. Yep. And that's one that actually pays a dividend. So it's even more attractive for the long term.
Cool. Anne-Marie, maybe we do fill that gap here. Maybe that might also be the high of the rally that we're seeing here. It actually looks fairly orderly. A couple of down moves amidst this that just get bought up. So breadth has now flipped positive for the Russell as well. That means the Dow and the Russell both with positive breadth. S&P, NASDAQ, and NYSE still holding on to negative breadth there. AAOI, by the way, looks like this is curling. Did anyone load up on AAOI on this pullback for a shorter term trade? Looks like we are actually flirting with crossing the 65 EMA on the 5 here.
So a couple things here. Looks like G-Man was asking Archer and Joby trending up. Any news? They actually have contracts with the U.S. military. I think Archer's got contracts with the Marines, and I want to say Joby's Air Force. I'm not sure, but they do have some military contracts. Let me see if I can get those for you exactly. But being that we're seeing these military stocks go up, they should be going up too because of their connection. Let's see here. All right, so Archer up to 142 million with the Air Force. So it's the Air Force that Archer is involved with. That's for they're testing their midnight eVTOL for logistics, crew transport, and rescue missions. Now, as far as Joby goes, give me 1 second.
And while 13's looking at that, AAOI continuing a recapture of the 65 EMA on the 5 intraday has occurred now. I've got VWAP just shy of 102. AAOI looks to be on its way back to VWAP.
Joby also has a contract with the U.S. Air Force. There was the Marines were looking at both of these. I guess they didn't have a contract, but I do remember seeing several headlines about the Marines interested in these. Anyway, there you have it. There's a couple of contracts you got there. Joby also partnered with L3 Harris. That's a big defense name. So these are going to be moving with the defense stocks.
Mentioning here that Archer's earnings are tonight. Here's a look at the earnings calendar for this week. I'll continue to throw this up here this week, but this is what we got so far. Archer on that list there.
Now, remember, when it comes to Joby and Archer, these are both companies that love to eat cash. They're still in their setup, growth, expansion, manufacturing phase. Archer's got that manufacturing facility in Georgia. I can't recall where Joby's making theirs, but these companies they're not profitable yet. So I would expect some of this movement to be limited, but if you're wondering why they're moving on a day like today, I would pin it on their association with the Air Force and the contracts that they have.
French President Macron says that he will boot. Let me read that quote to you so I don't screw it up. Sorry, it just scrolled off my screen. French President Emmanuel Macron says it will boost its arsenal of nuclear warheads, citing growing security concerns. That should be good for your defense trade.
Wow.
As that continues to trade up, by the way, S&P futures continuing to trade higher here, now only down 0.21%.
Bitcoin.
It does look like a busy week, Anne-Marie.
Bitcoin has not stopped.
So your risk on indicator at the highs now. Bitcoin 68,700 on the futures.
Blew through that 68,000 resistance. We're looking at 69 next. 70,500 would be after that. 72 after that, and about 73,750 after that. Hey Joe, I mean, however you want to play that, as long as everybody understands the risks. You know, these companies, I love the technology. They're just not profitable. I really would love to see these in the air in the future. Absolutely. You know, Brian, you know me about when my take on this. I'm kind of done with the whole self-driving thing. I think we need to just move past that.
Look,
flying cars are the future.
I'll tell you, as far as the market goes, which loves to look ahead, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you on that. The whole self-driving car thing seems ancillary compared to eVTOLs, frankly.
Yeah. And I don't think that you're wrong about uranium either.
Nope. How are those stocks? You know what? Shame on me. I'm sorry I haven't pulled those up yet.
I was mentioning one last week that was had just SPAC'd, and it was still going through the de-SPACing process. So it was NUCL. I still don't know about this one.
It looks like it's still de-SPACing. This is still down 1.25% here.
Yeah, so not all nuclear names are going to be trading equal. This is one of them that is probably not going to even see profit until the 2030s. So and that could be the case with a lot of the nuclear names that we were looking at. So I'm trying to think of some of the names that we were trading late last year.
Do you mean like SMR and Oklo, the power generation?
No, not those. Not those. Some of the ones that were, that were SPACs that were turning into, turning into real companies. You know, they were making their debut through the SPAC.
Was that like Hond?
Yeah, that one. I'm trying to think of.
I think that turned into something else. Was that
NKLR?
NKLR. Yeah, you might be right on that.
So this is one of them. This down. Companies like this one, they're not going to have revenue for a long time. So I don't know that these are going to be great right now. Yeah, there you go. Thinking about it exactly. Thank you. So it's going to be some time before these get the revenue. They still are in the capital spending phase.
You folks mentioning Ondas here. Don't forget. I know we talk a lot about Ondas being a drone company. Ondas up 22% here today. Giddy up indeed. I know we talk a lot about Ondas being a drone company. Very important to remember that one of their big subsidiaries here is anti-drone, right? The Golden Drone program. They have drone defense as well. And one of the things we saw from this conflict was after the strike on Iran attacked basically all of its neighbors. And they used kamikaze drones in order to do this. Ondas has defense technology that stops that. So I mean, I know I'm biased here. I mean, our cat's up 30% here too. So these moves are not unique to Ondas. And I may be biased here just because Ondas has been the one that I'm on. But I actually think this is better positioned with some of the anti-drone technology. That's just me. Nonetheless, good day here so far.
I think AVAV is also one of the ones that is involved with anti-drone technology as well.
Yep. And I think one of their big things is ISR. For the AVAV drones. And that's one of the leaders there in their ISR drones.
Speaking of drones, the battery play, AMPX, knocking on the door of 12. It's trying to get through it right now. That's the high of the day. Looks like Battalion trying to turn around. Some of these oil names trying to turn around. Still beneath their VWAPs, though.
S&P futures trading sideways here. I think we've got one more push to try to go for red-green. Will we hold red-green? That's another story. Q's breath now green. So that is the Dow, Q's, and Russell all flipped from negative to green. SPY and Nice. We'll see if they are next.
Intuit broke through the meme high of 420.69. We're now in 421 territory, climbing higher. BM&R continuing to climb higher, as is Bitcoin. Aurora Innovation, one of my favorites. I know I just talked a lot of crap about automatic or automated driving, but
self-driving cars.
But you know what? This is self-driving freight, which I'm not going to be in. So fine, that's great. That probably really saves a lot of money.
Yo, Pain Pal at the highs, guys. Pain Pal, even Pain Pal at the highs here today. Replay Game Lab, Ryan, I've made money on Ondas. I love to hear that, Replay Game Lab. Congratulations. Thank you. You're more than welcome. If you revere their news, it's PR after PR about new contracts. And indeed, that was one of the themes that we wanted. When we brought Eric on here, we talked about wanting to see that move to the bottom line. I asked him specifically why he was raising money, and he told me so that they could continue to boost their fleet, boost their technology stack in order to add those new contracts. So it's good to see that. I still think we have a ways to go in that personally, which is one of the reasons why I'm not trading it back and forth as much. Now, Tiny Pie, question about Ondas anti-drone tech. If they had it at Dubai airport, would it have stopped that attack? I'm not sure how it works. So some of them actually use physical nets to arrest an incoming drone to stop it from being able to reach its target. Now, could they have stopped it from hitting the specific building that it hit in Dubai? Sure, but if you arrest one of those drones with a net, that drone is still going to explode at some point. So there might be better options available, but yes, in theory, as you said, yes, it could have. We'll see if we'll see what other type of applications it comes up with. Supric, Ryan, you're saying Ondas is a good buy here? No, you should not chase a stock that's up 20 or 30% on a day. If you're going to do a long-term hold, I'd rather you be patient and wait for it to come into a support level. Additionally, I would say that if you can't wait, or if you're really worried about that, I would actually sell a put near a support level so that if you're put to the stock, you're put to it cheaper and you collect the premium up front. Please don't chase a 20% move and say, I told you to do that. Please don't do that. Do you think Ondas is going to 9? I could see it entering a 9 handle again. Again, I think this ramp is long, but given what we're seeing now, and we're all kind of expecting more headlines to come out about this conflict, I don't know if that's going to be something in the near future.
Lion, those 3 F-15s, those were shot down mistakenly.
And all, I believe those are 6 pilots, right? The F-18 has a 2-person crew.
That's F-15. F-15 is a single seat.
Okay. So all of those pilots were successfully rescued, from what I saw this morning. Okay.
I'm just trying to look, and I'm just reading through some of these comments. I'm also just looking to see what's still moving here. BMR trying to push up more. Me too,
and I'm actually just looking at the SPY here. So here's the move, and again, this move was not like a straight up move. Like, it was up, a little bit of consolidation, up again. Now here we go. Now, we never went green yet. The day is not over yet here. SPY only down 0.25% at this point. We'll see if this firms up at all. I would say on this pullback, probably looking at maybe 683.5. So maybe another 50 cents if it holds here.
100 to 107, I think, maybe even 110. That looks like a range where we might find resistance for Netflix. Rocky, I mean.
Joe says, Ryan, on your advice, I'm going to empty my 401k and buy even more Ondas right now. My life is in your hands. His life was in your hands, dude.
Yeah.
Joe, I appreciate that you guys have a sense of humor. I will say. That's good. Oh.
Even
His
Voyager
life is in your hands, dude.
Even Voyager is up today. And that's mostly a name that's well, wait a minute. I think Voyager may also be one that could potentially have one of those.
Now, this is VOYG that you're referencing, right?
Let me double check that, because I thought I saw something about them getting a contract.
Okay, S&P pulling here a little bit. This is actually no, the last down move that we made right about 950 was about the same degree this one is.
So Voyager doesn't have a golden dome contract, but they are actively positioning itself for one. They recently acquired ExoTerra Resource last year in October to bolster its capabilities in satellite maneuvering and velocity change, which is crucial for Golden Dome. So Voyager potentially one to get a contract for the Golden Dome project.
That's something to watch, 13.
Yeah.
That is definitely something to watch. It's really good, quick, investigative work, by the way.
And thank you. And the other thing I like about Voyager is that this is pretty heavily dependent on SpaceX.
SpaceX, yeah.
So successful test flights of that should get this going as well. We're supposed to have one this month. I haven't seen NOTAMs as to when the airspace is shut for that launch, but kind of expecting at this stage somewhere in the middle of March until we get some more concrete information. Intuit continuing to rip after breaking through that meme high this morning.
So 13, I was asking earlier when I did my macro minute. Macro minute today, by the way, obviously the Middle East conflict, right? What does that mean for oil? What does that mean for the defense stocks? But what also does that mean for the tech stocks? Because obviously the tech stocks have been selling off. They sold off a little bit more on this news. They had their own issues when they started this sell-off. So do we think that maybe this is a possible bounce spot here for tech, or do they really kind of need to figure out their own thing, the whole AI, CapEx, that whole thing? Do you think that this might cause those stocks to trade a little bit different?
I could see some of the bigger names potentially doing better. I pointed out Microsoft. They're doing. I think Microsoft's going to do okay. Some of the other names I'm not so sure about.
I mean, look at Nvidia; it's up 2.25% today.
And I don't mean like the big ones. I'm talking about like the mid-range to smaller names that might face more trouble. But to your point about these being hammered down, when we're expecting some broadening out into the other stocks, and then once that happens, we could start to see tech get going again. I don't know how long that's going to take, but with the acceleration of some of these drone and defense and safe trades like oil and whatnot, that could cause the selling into these upsides. That could cause some of the broadening out to go back into tech. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's necessarily going to be what happens here, but I'd be keeping an eye on tech for a rebound for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I like the point that you made about Microsoft earlier. That's now higher by at 1.5%. We just talked about Nvidia. How's Apple doing here? Apple about flat today. Apple's kind of been the safe haven, so I'm not really surprised to see that this isn't really bouncing.
Sell tech, it's going to zero. It was a fad.
That was obviously a Buffalo by bicycle joke.
Yeah, Microsoft Palantir. So Palantir. Let me look and see what this one's doing today, because I know that we've been getting a rebound here.
It's near the highs. 145 looks to be the spot that it's trying to shake right now.
And we almost came down to the 120 area where I was expecting there to be some support, from the sell-off. We did death cross, so I don't necessarily think that we're done with the downside for Palantir in the medium term. But in the short term, I think that we could still continue to trade back up. It's just that around the 150 to 160 area, I think we run into some resistance in Palantir. So let's see what happens when we get up there. I mean, that could be wrong about that, but I think that we are going to run into some resistance in that area. So let's just see what we get up there. And if it looks like we're starting to turn around, then we can talk about some more of that downside and where we could end up potentially going.
Okay, line here saying, as far as tech names, Microsoft and Palantir, but the rest will struggle. So for whatever that's worth, AMD has not gone red to green here. In fact, AMD down 3%, totally bucking what NVIDIA is doing.
Looks like we came to a near-term top here with BMNR, and must be Bitcoin as well. The upside in Bitcoin is starting to slow down. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna add to what you were saying there. Upside in Bitcoin has in fact slowed down. Looks like the march back on SPY has slowed down a little here, although it's not breaking down, at least not yet. Maybe we do get that in the afternoon, like Ryan was saying, but so far not bad yet.
You know,
Bitcoin. Keep watching Bitcoin.
If there's no major headlines or anything else for the rest of the day, then I think that call for selling later in the afternoon is likely going to happen. But
okay,
with how how volatile this development is right now and how early we are into it, we could get some news that could completely upend that. So I think it's going to bear worth keeping an eye on the news if we're going to try and trade the downside that we're anticipating later. Because if some news comes out that sends these names back up and other ones back down, we're going to want to be have our ear to the ground when that happens.
Yeah, no question. AAOI, by the way, that tried to bounce back to its VWAP, could not quite get down there, back down near the day lows here. Back down near the day lows. Let's check in with some of those metals. Here's your gold chart. This is actually lower from the open, but still doing an all right job holding in there. Silver, on the other hand, lower by almost 4% SLV.
Intuit got me thinking about looking around at some of the other names that in the software space that have been getting hammered down. PayPal not recovering, Adobe not recovering. It looks like they're trying to go sideways, but they're not having a day like Intuit. So I'm just kind of looking around to see what other names similar to this space are recovering, because Intuit got absolutely hammered down.
Okay.
Jay, do you think this is a coordinated effort to just kind of hammer down Anthropic and prop up OpenAI? It kind of seems like that's what was happening, huh?
Okay. 13, this was a busy start to the week. I feel like we blinked, had a couple of discussions, and time was up. So we're out of time here for today. We're going to be back at this again tomorrow. Any closing words for the group here?
Well, folks, let's see if we get that sell-off or selling in the afternoon. I anticipate that we're going to have a pretty volatile week. So let's make sure we don't get ourselves caught in anything or lose any capital to any mistakes. We want to come back here tomorrow and trade these volatile markets again. So get your cash ready. Let's lock and load for tomorrow, and I'll see you then. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Good advice, 13. Good stuff here today. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Busy start to the week. As 13 said, it's probably going to be volatile for the rest of it. So let's strap in here. Have a great rest of your Monday. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.